Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming in for today's live, I should say. Today we're discussing famous alien abduction cases, and we're also going to do a check-in with our Philip experiment person named Cole. We are joined by Brett from Wolf Paranormal. That way I should do. Say hello.
Yeah, I always get it the wrong way around.
We have Sam from Life After Life Productions.
Hello.
And we have Deb, who is now Funky You Deb because she has a new channel.
Hey! Finally.
So I forgot to get your link, but if any of you have her link, if you can pop it in the stream so that we can start building her channel as well, that'd be great.
So I popped my YouTube cherry on Julie's stream tonight. We only did it this morning.
Yep.
Now it's 10 hours old.
Yeah,
it is.
Literally.
So has everybody well rested and ready for the stream?
I've had 2 hours sleep. I've had 2 hours sleep.
I've had 3.
Just 2. We're all running low.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we'll crack. We'll build on our reserves. We will get this done, and in the usual fashion.
Will. Definitely.
Don't expect any dancing off me today.
Hello to everybody in the stream. There's quite a few of you there already. Thank you for joining us this evening. So I was given a mission last week by Brett to look into and research 2 abduction cases from history. And so I have done just that. I have my little notes here on both of the cases. And so we're going to be discussing those tonight. So the first one is Barney and Betty Hill. Now, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, the first one, Barney, Betty Hill, they were the first properly documented case in US history, weren't they?
They were, yeah.
Okay.
They were.
So I'm going to read you guys a little bit about Barney and Betty, about their abduction, and then we will go into speaking about them.
Even with posh sound effects.
Like the music. Okay, so they lived in Portsmouth. I don't know if I said that properly, in New Hampshire, US. Portsmouth. Thank you. Barney was a postal worker and Betty was a social worker. So just 2 normal run-of-the-mill people. On September 19 of 1961, they were returning back home from a holiday in Niagara Falls. They were driving along Route 3 around 10:30 p.m. When Betty saw lights in the sky, and she thought at first it may have been a falling star, but noticed that instead of moving in a downward motion, it was actually moving upward. So as they're driving along, this light started moving erratically and grew bigger. So Betty says to Barney, how about we pull over, we can walk the dog and have a better look at it. So they found a little picnic spot just south of a place called Twin Mountain. They hopped out, walked the dog, got their binoculars out and started looking at this object. Betty's sister, I believe, or sister-in-law had an experience where she saw a UFO once before. So Betty's like, well, this is a UFO. Barney had a look through the binoculars and at first thought it was a plane until it started moving quite quickly toward them. At that point, they jumped in the car and started driving off. Where am I up to? They observed the saucer further while driving, and Betty said the craft appeared to be roughly 1.5 times length of a granite cliff they passed, which was about 40 feet long. Approximately 1 mile south of Indian Head, the UFO descended toward their vehicle and Barney hit the brake. It was then that he got out of the vehicle and looking through the binoculars once again, he observed roughly 8 to 11 figures through what appeared to be windows around the craft. And at that stage, he kind of ran back to the car and said, they're going to take us. So they took off again. While they were driving along, Barney asked Betty to keep an eye out. So she was looking out and the craft appeared above the car. And all of a sudden they started hearing buzzing and beeping and carrying on. And they said that they went into almost like an altered state of consciousness. Then all of a sudden there was buzzing and beeping and they woke back up, and apparently they were, 35 miles further down the road without even knowing they've travelled that distance. Once they'd returned home, some of the things that they had observed was that Betty insisted for some strange reason the luggage be kept outside the back door instead of being brought inside. Can you close that door, please? Oh, God. They had circular patterns on the trunk of their car, which weren't there before. And when tested with a compass, the pin on the compass would spin erratically.
You have done your research.
I have done my research.
Yeah, that's a lesser known fact that comes up. Good on you.
Yeah. And so there were some other things like the hem and zipper and that of her dress had been broken. So, yeah. So would you guys like to help me go further into what happened after that?
See how much you can learn in a week.
Absolutely.
You do your research.
Yep.
Betty and Barney Hill, believe it or not, was the case that actually introduced little grey men to the world.
Yep.
They weren't discussed before then. Basically, what happened once they got back home, Barney developed a strange rash, and Betty started to have nightmares about what was, well, she didn't know what they were at first. This went on for about 6 months, and then they eventually decided to go to a hypnotist who interviewed them separately. And the recordings of the actual sessions, I believe, are available on YouTube if you look for them, the original recordings. And this was when the story unfolded that they were apparently stopped on the road by a UFO, for want of a better word, with little men staring out the window at them. They led them into the craft. They were taken to separate rooms, stripped naked, and both of them endured medical examinations. What is interesting in Betty's story is she basically said they at one point inserted a needle into her navel and she felt pain and she cried out, and the alien basically telepathically took the pain away. You've muted yourself, Julie. So Barney himself endured a similar kind of examination. I don't recall Barney ever saying that they actually inserted a needle into him, but I get the impression they were more interested in Betty's womb. Another interesting fact about the couple, which was unusual for the time, is they were a mixed race couple. Barney was black and Betty was white. Apparently, the aliens were really fascinated by the fact that Barney had got false teeth and Betty hadn't, which was a really interesting fact to be brought up in an hypnotherapy session. They were fascinated by the difference in the colour between the pair, but apparently, what really fascinated them was the fact that Barney had got false teeth and Betty hadn't, sort of thing. So there was a lot of curiosity. They went through a lot of ridicule for years after. It happened. Barney suffered psychologically really bad, more so than Betty did. Betty was nervous, and stuff. It affected them both very, very oddly. But of the couple, Barney was the one who it actually affected the most. It is considered the most famous UFO abduction ever. It is considered the granddaddy of abductions. It is what literally started, the alien abductions.
Phenomena. Absolutely.
That's why it's so famous. But I would recommend anybody interested in the case to Google to Google or search on YouTube for the original recordings where you can actually listen to Barney while he's under the influence hypnotherapy, and that guy is absolutely terrified under hypnosis. It's absolutely fascinating to listen to.
It's horrifying, but it's to listen to. But there are some, if you dig deep enough, you will find some 8mm footage of them being interviewed by George Knapp and a couple of other people. But there is some 8mm footage, but the rest of it was all recordings, as Brett alluded to, whilst they were under hypnosis, separately in both of them. And the detail that they recall subconsciously is fascinating. It really, really is. They can describe, and that's where the little grey men came in.
And it was Betty and Barney who actually brought in the idea of little grey men. What is also interesting is they never really mention the reaction of the dog. No matter what you look up on the case, it's never mentioned how the dog reacted, because I believe the dog was with them at the time. They got the dog in the car with them.
Yes, they did.
It's never actually mentioned in the case notes how the dog reacted. But the UFO actually chased them along the road at one point when they went under hypnotherapy. It actually hovered above the car and chased them down the road, and that is one of the very first cases of where a UFO actually affected the electricals of a car. It was parked in the middle of the road, and it killed the electrics on the car as they approached it. And that was when they really panicked. But both of them described when they were actually taken into the ship, they were both in a dreamlike state. They went willingly, even though they didn't want to, sort of thing. They both, and this is really interesting because they both mentioned this in their separate sessions, and they were interviewed separately, and they claim they were actually examined individually on the ship. They were taken to they were separated and taken to different rooms, and they both described this telepathy element that to the entire occurrence, where there was no actual speaking by these little grey men. It was all done via telepathy, right down to the fact that when Betty cried out in pain when they inserted the needle into a navel, they actually telepathically removed the pain. It's an absolutely fascinating case. It really is. But if you're somebody who's into alien abduction, the Betty and Barney Hill case is the one you need to start with, because it is the granddaddy of
it is the first
cases.
Absolutely. I agree with that. 100%.
And they also suffered socially, because a lot of the people that ridiculed them over race and used it for those times as it sent her mad because she partnered with a negroid. And the outcry around that context is just shameful, even for then, let alone now. And he was a very, very broken man over the whole thing. He was literally never the same.
It's affected his health for the rest of his life. Have you ever heard of the case, Sam?
Yes, but I'm going to be the baddie in the whole thing, because
Go for it.
I'm going to be an example of somebody that took one side of the story and went with that without seeing the other.
Perfect.
And I don't have an awful lot of information, but the information that I ran with was these two people were interviewed about an alien abduction, and under hypnosis came out with details of a TV series at the time, and it described aliens similar to what was on the TV at the time, and I just went, right, so this is all shit. No, that is
a possibility. It could be, it could be the subconscious recalling facts like that. It could be. There's no doubt about it.
And it's got a lot of things in common with famous haunted dolls because these events coincide with what was on TV at the time. Now, it's a mistake. It's a mistake of me to take that side without exploring the other side. But that's what I did, you know.
Yep.
But it kind of shows you too that under hypnosis, you could be coming out with stuff that's embedded in your mind.
Yeah, most definitely.
That may be fiction.
Yeah,
you know,
false memory. False memory.
Yeah, you know,
hypnosis has actually been proven to create false memories.
Yes.
If they're not there, you know, hypnosis can put them there. You know, that is something you've got to be aware of.
So, you know,
it's true.
You know, back when we discussed aliens before and I joked about little green men.
Yeah.
This is the attitude I have with this case. Which is the wrong actually I'm holding my hand up and saying this is the wrong thing to do. Don't do this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. See what you did is what a lot of people did. They only went on the hypnosis evidence. A lot of people tend to forget there was physical evidence as well. There was actually the three dots on the car trunk, or you know whatever they call it over there, that reacted to the compass. They were examined by technical experts at the time, and they had no idea what the substance actually was. You know, it was never identified as what these three blobs were. You know, so. That is what more of the convincer for me rather than their hypnotic evidence. Because I'm like Sam in the fact I'm very wary of what people say under hypnosis because I know how much false memory can be introduced into hypnotherapy. You know, you can convince people that's, you know, and it's happened in famous criminal cases where people have had false memories and accused people and then they found out later they're false memory.
Well, that's how they get you to quit smoking under hypnotherapy as well. Yeah.
Oh, I tried that, didn't work.
Yeah.
But I'd also like to suggest that the other thing that's not as widely known, well, it is, but it's never really discussed, is that Project Blue Book also investigated this story extensively.
Yeah.
And their report has never, ever been released, their findings.
Yeah.
But as Brett was alluding to then, you've also got to bear in mind, being the first case of its type, they would not have understood what they had actually encountered to be classified as evidence. Perhaps with more knowledge and understanding and these becoming more talked about now, but the very first one being the very first, I don't think anybody realised what they'd stumbled into or how to even how to describe it, let alone to define it.
Yeah.
What is also interesting as well, Sam touched on the TV program saying they were similar. They were similar, but they weren't identical. And what was interesting about the time period, it was when a lot of the B movies were out, like The Day the Earth Stood Still and stuff like that. And the aliens in those films were always depicted as robots. Yet Betty and Barney basically described these little 3 foot tall grey things with huge black eyes. You know, which was similar to the show, but there were some very distinct differences. But for me, it ain't what they said; it's what it was. It was the supporting evidence around you know, around the case. Like the three. Apparently there were circular spots arranged in a triangular formation on the boot of the car, and every time a compass was placed over them, the compass went ballistic and just span erratically. Apparently. So they were emitting some kind of magnetic field, but science at the time couldn't identify what it was, what the substance was.
And it was also the first documented case anywhere in the world of what we now come to accept as a description of the grey men with the almond eyes, and the telepathy, because they don't. Potentially may not have vocal cords or evolve that way. Evelyn's just asked an interesting question, and we discussed it during the week. But is it the first case, or is it the first case that was found?
It's the first fully documented case of abduction.
Yeah.
Up until that point, they were only ever sightings of strange craft.
Yep.
Betty and Barney Hill were the first abduction case. Basically, they were the first close encounter of the third kind.
Mm.
Because a lot of people don't realise there is actually more than 3 close encounters. There is also a close encounters of the 4th, 5th, and 6th kind.
5th
Yeah.
and 6th, yes.
Yeah.
Varying on
Yes.
what on what happens. But yeah, the Betty and Barney Hill case was the very first case of close encounters of what is classified now as close encounter of the third kind.
And to be investigated and spoken openly about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's not to say they were the first abduction case. They were just the first abduction case that was ever come forward and admitted to.
True.
Because that the case they never actually came forward for 6 months because they were frightened they were going to be ridiculed, and it was only when
it was that long.
Yeah,
it was
6
quite
months.
a while.
Wow. Okay.
And Betty started having the nightmares, and as did Barney, but Barney's mental health deteriorated really. He got very paranoid that he was being watched all the while, because what he claimed he saw through the binoculars, even though he couldn't recall it at the time, he just got this feeling that he was being watched all the while, and then after he was hypnotized, all the story came out. But they were actually interviewed separately, and under hypnosis, their stories pretty much matched up till the point they split off, sort of thing, and then they described different procedures done on them.
Yeah. MCAT said that he was one of the cases that he kind of followed was called Extraordinary, the Stan Remenick case. And it was about one abduction, I think.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. All right. Should we move on to the next one? Or?
I think Stan was the one who claimed that he was part of an hybrid breeding program, if I remember right.
Yeah, Evelyn just said he also has an alien daughter and witnesses of the aliens following him.
Yeah.
So, that's interesting. I'm going to look into that one.
Yeah,
all right.
He's actually claimed multiple visitations where they've come back and shown him his child.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right. So the next case was kind of referred to me by the lovely Deb. So thank you, Deb.
You're welcome.
She told me to look into a fellow named Travis Walton. And it wasn't until I actually looked at the case that I realized that I had actually seen the movie that was made based on his story called The Fire in the Sky.
Yeah.
So his is probably not quite as long, but I'll read you out pretty much the body of his story. So the Travis Walton case was an alleged abduction of American forestry worker Travis Walton. On November 5, 1975, while working in the Apache Sitgraves, I think that's how you say it, National Forest near Snowflake, Arizona, Walter was allegedly abducted by aliens. So I believe they'd been clearing shrub or something like that, doing some forestry work.
He was part of a lumberjack team.
Yes, he was part of a lumberjack team. There were him and 6 other fellows there on the day. They got into the truck and they were driving down through the forest way there when all of a sudden they encountered a UFO saucer-shaped object hovering over the ground roughly 110 meters away from where they were. They said the UFO was making a high-pitched buzzing sound. Walton left the truck to approach the UFO when he said a beam of light came out of the craft and he was knocked unconscious. And the next thing he remembers is waking up inside a hospital-like room where he was being observed by 3 short, bald creatures. He says that he fought with them a little until a human wearing a helmet led him to another room where they put a clear mask on him. He fell back asleep or blacked out. The next thing he remembered, he was walking, I believe, naked along a road, and this was 5 days later, I think.
5 days. 5 days.
Yeah, 5 days later. And he said one of the last things he remembers is the alien departing the craft, departing above his head.
Yeah.
While he was gone in that 5 days, there was everyone thought that maybe he had been murdered because he was missing. So, yeah. Let me see. In the days after Walton and his co-workers, they all took polygraph tests. All of them passed the polygraph test except for one who was considered inconclusive. 33 years later, Walton took another polygraph test, which he failed. Let me see. This is what Brett was talking about to me this morning. About 15 years later, it was discovered that the trees in the immediate vicinity of the abduction site were producing wood fibre at 36 times the rate it had in the 85 years prior or before that. More recently, around 2015, a complete core sample revealed that the thickened growth on the trees was only on the side of the trees or toward the direction that the craft had been. Yep.
And that was actually visible in the tree rings when they took the samples, and there's actually pictures again on the internet, and you can actually see they've cut one of the trees completely down so it's just a stump, and you can actually see where the rings in all the trees bulge inwards to the centre of the clearing. They go in perfectly circular, and then as they point into the centre of the clearing, they bulge out the rings to where the growth is. They also registered that those side of the trees were more radioactive than the back parts of the trees as well. So they have conclusively proven there was some form of radiation in that square at the year. Obviously, they can't narrow it down to the exact time of the year. They can narrow it down to the season, apparently. But I think they've narrowed it down to in the space of, they know it's within a 3-month time period of when this thing occurred. And Travis Walton's abduction sits right in that band.
That space, that window.
Yeah. I kind of thought that was probably because I know that with this case, when I looked into it, it looked like there were a lot of people calling BS on his case and trying to say that he was lying about it.
Yeah.
But when you get that kind of evidence, it's really hard to dispute that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. This is what in recent years has really validated the Travis Walton case, is that scientific study they've gone back and done, where they can scientifically prove something occurred in that clearing at the time that Travis Walton was abducted. They can't say what it was. All they can say was it involved radiation. The problem with the Travis Walton case at the time was these lot were a bunch of, they were 7 lumberjacks. They worked hard and they partied hard. They were known for fighting amongst themselves and falling out and and getting back together. So at the time, that they literally did believe that his 6 friends had basically
murdered him
and hidden his body in the thing. When he turned up 5 days later, I believe he rang I can't remember whether it was his brother or his brother-in-law. He rang somebody for him to pick him up from the highway. He wasn't even aware that 5 days had passed. He thought it was just a couple of hours. He didn't realise there had been, morning Seago, a massive 5-day search for him. And I mean a massive search. I think they covered the area about 100 square miles from where it happened. Because as it actually happened, his friends deserted him. When he was struck by the beam of light, they all panicked, jumped in the truck, the other 6, and drove off and left the poor bloke there.
Yeah.
They went about 3/4 of a mile down the path, had a big argument about leaving him there, good night, Ozzy. Decided, they couldn't leave the friend behind, went back for him, and he totally disappeared. And he was gone for 5 days, and there was a massive search for him because the police police interviewed all of the other 6 that they genuinely believed that he was a murder victim, that he'd been murdered. but he found a family member to pick. He turned up 5 days later, managed to stumble his way to a garage, called a member of the family from the box, the phone box there to pick him up, and didn't even realise he'd been gone for 5 days. He couldn't understand what all the fuss was over. Because as far as he was aware he'd been gone like a couple of hours overnight. And probably, the Travis case is probably the second most famous abduction after the Betty and Barney Hill case. It's probably.
I think they're only a few years apart, weren't they?
Yeah, it's the most.
2 years, 3 years at most.
Yeah.
Another Project Blue Book.
Yeah. To this day, not one of the 7 people involved, Travis included, have ever changed their story. Not one of them.
14 years apart they are.
Yeah.
Oh, are they? Oh,
yeah.
My apologies.
No,
Misinformation.
Yeah, but they've never ever changed. Never changed the stories. None of them. And to this day, they insist what they said was what actually happened. But at the time, because they were known as a little bit rough, because they were big drinkers and everything, they just presumed there'd been some kind of drunken argument in the woods where they were cutting down the trees, and he'd been killed, and the other 6 had covered it up.
Yeah,
and that was the belief. That was the belief for 6 days. They were officially interviewed as suspects.
One thing I couldn't find on the Travis Walton case was whether he gave a description of what the beings actually look like. Like, I know he said that they were short and bald, but did he actually?
Yeah, he has given descriptions of them, and they pretty much sound like the Greys from what he's described.
Okay.
Yeah. Another thing that a lot of people aren't aware of, that was also part of the case, when they took him into the room with the mask, they basically showed him a star chart of the galaxy. There was a star map. There was a star map in the room, and he said the room went dark, and it was like he was floating in space, looking at a star map.
Oh wow!
They tried to explain to him where they'd come from, and they were showing him star maps and things on what he described, which would now you with today's technology, you would consider it to be an holographic projection.
Correct.
But he described that back then.
Yeah, Seago said, I have a feeling he encountered 2 different types of aliens, humanoids and greys. Yeah, because that he did see one that looked human, but it had like a helmet thing on.
Yeah, and apparently that was the one that did all the controlling, but it was the little ones who did all the leading him around. But he said that it was the larger one that was in charge.
Wow, okay.
The little grey ones were just like workers, and this is why now it's becoming popular in ufology circles. A lot of people now believe that the greys aren't even human. They're some kind of, aren't even real as such. They believe they could be drones of sort of like worker ants. More so than an actual independent
That's a
race.
strong theory at the moment.
Yeah.
And that segues into the discussions that were raised on Brett's channel last night when we got the teacher and the controller and education and so forth. That, if you look at it in that kind of a context, given what these people were struggling to describe back then, makes far more sense and potential credibility now with technology and so forth, advancements and understanding of these types of situations. The descriptions are always relatively consistent, but he was the first one to try and describe a holographic virtual description of multiple galaxies and universes.
Is what he described.
Yeah, virtual reality is how he described it, that it just all hung in the air, and there were just millions of galaxies and millions of other universes and planets with life.
But he did also state as well he was under the impression that they were benign. that they weren't
Yes.
they weren't here with any sinister intentions. They would say
No.
even to this day he still claims that they were benign and they're just interested in helping us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet Betty and Barney Hill's description has always been very
Mildly aggressive.
It's very neutral on that one, because in some parts, you know, they come across as quite aggressive and quite forceful in what they do, but then when they ease the pain and stuff like that, they come across as very ambiguous, the Betty and Barney Hill aliens. But Travis has always insisted that the ones who abducted him were very much benign. They've got no ill intent towards us at all.
You know, one interesting similarity that I've just realised in between the Barney and Betty case and the Travis case is that both times there have been that lead figure that kind of, because I remember in the Barney Betty case, when he got out and he saw the beings at the window, he said all of them kind of moved away from the window except one. And it told him telepathically, stay there and keep looking.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like there's the one main almost leader and the rest are just workers, as you said. Yeah.
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 Thought that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But, you know, this Travis has done a lot of interviews over the years. He's always stuck to his story. He's never changed. He's never, ever changed his story. And, you know, if you want to, he's another one you can Google on YouTube and you can see some very recent interviews by Travis.
Yeah.
But that guy has always stuck to his story. And like Seago's just mentioned there in the chat, he has always been very insistent that they were benign and they were here for our benefit rather than our detriment. He's always insisted that. Whereas Betty and Barney Hill couldn't work out one way or the other. I think Betty said that she didn't feel any ill intent from them, but they treated her more like a lab rat, whereas Travis was treated with a little bit more respect during his abduction.
I think that if any of you guys are going to go and watch the movie, if anyone hasn't seen it, I think research the case first, because there was one story I read of a woman and she said that there were some differences in the movie. You know what Hollywood's like. They hype things up. So, yeah, there are some differences in the movie to what actually happened. Yeah. So it's worth checking out the story first. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It was a really interesting one at the time because, like I say, they originally treated it as a murder, and they believed his six mates had spun this elaborate story to try and cover up the fact that they'd murdered and hid his body. But there was a massive 5-day search in the area of the forest he went missing in, and no trace of him was found.
And over the years, his friends have never altered their accounts either. No one in that case has ever changed their mind.
Yeah, they all to this day insist what they said originally is what happened.
Yep, they say the same thing, definitely.
Yeah. Where Betty Hill over time did alter, as Brett alluded to.
Yeah.
In this case, what gave it more and more credibility is over time, there was not one iota of difference in the original to what keeps coming out of all of them. So, yeah.
The Travis Walton film Pocket Watch is called Fire in the Sky.
Yeah.
It's got D.B. Weiss.
Too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's got D.B. Weiss as the main character playing Travis.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Is that the same case, or am I talking about a different case where, the guy became ill, was sent to the hospital, and there was a chip found under his skin, and when they removed the chip, he got even sicker?
Yes. No, it's a completely different case. But that was the one that I think somebody in the chat referred to earlier. MCAT, the Stan something. I can't remember it now, but yes, he's the one where that's him.
Yep.
That's an actor. They actually have
that woman
alien tech.
That woman who I personally know, who claims that she's been abducted repeatedly since the age of 5. claims that she had an implant and it was removed and she's got it. I've never actually seen it, but she claims she's got it.
Yeah.
Because apparently what a lot of abductees, and there have been a lot of abductees that have had these things removed. A lot of them actually disintegrate once they're taken out of the body, and this has been witnessed. This has been witnessed in hospital. They've still got some, but apparently a lot of them actually disintegrate once they're taken out of the body. Whether it's because they're exposed to air or what it is, I do not know. But a lot of them will actually disintegrate when they're removed.
Yeah,
and that they believe they're like, like you tag your dog or your cat. That's what abductees believe these tags are.
Yeah, I think the discovery that I was talking about, I think the guy went into hospital possibly with some other illness, and they found the chip.
Yeah.
And I think the chip was like it kind of looked like a dioid, where there's 3 prongs coming out of it.
Yeah.
And
there's actually a range of them. Some of them actually look electronic. They do look like a piece of circuitry, like you just described. But others of them actually look like a slither of crystal, like rock.
Yeah, and
they look mineral based.
The crystal, but they can't determine the mineral. That's right. And the other ones
can't work out what it is.
Long before we got this kind of technology, long before the internet, they have what's the word? Inscriptions. They look like a microchip.
Yeah.
Before we even discovered the word or how to make a microchip.
Yeah.
And they are some sort of a metal, but when they remove it, so my thought on that has always been that perhaps the reason they, as Sam alluded to, once they take it out of the body, it just dissolves, is that it's far more advanced biology than we're even aware of.
Yeah.
It's a biological communication device.
Yeah.
For nerves and
abductees are convinced that they're used to keep, they use so the aliens can track them and pick them up at any point they want to. But there has been other cases where they have claimed that these implants are actually interacting with the physiology of the body and doing things to the body, and if they're removed from the body, it causes problems once they've actually been implanted.
Yeah.
It's like they almost take over certain functions.
That's amazing technology.
I think it was in Germany, somewhere in Europe. Oh, God, I read this and looked at this so many years ago. Forgive me. Where one of the ladies that was abducted, could have been Russia. They tried to take it out and it kept going back into the body, so they couldn't actually control it. It kept moving.
Yeah.
And anyway, in the end, they closed her up. A couple of years later, she got cancer of some description, and she was healed by the chip because she kept going back to a doctor and then showed no sign. It's Russia. One of the remote areas, Russia. Yeah. And it healed her of
the opposite end of the
cancer.
scale where they've had them cause cancer. Cancer cells have formed around them.
Yeah,
so,
it's a foreign body.
Both end of the scale.
You could argue easily that it's the body fighting back of a foreign object, but this lady in Russia was diagnosed with stomach cancer or bowel cancer or something like that. Anyway, she kept going back to a doctor, and slowly he thought it was chemotherapy or something, but she was cured of it, she believed, with strong medical evidence to suggest that, but she was in a very short space of time, once diagnosed, cleared of all sign of cancer at all, no cells, no malignancies at all, no tumours, nothing. She was completely healed. I can't think of the name of the case. I'll try and look it up again and I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
You just look weird with that light, Julie. I've got to tell you, mate.
These chips have been found in all areas of the body.
Because you weren't moving and you had this robotic look, and I thought, fuck, here we go. Here we go. Apologies.
I think it glitched. Is it glitching now?
No.
Okay.
It was just stuck in a certain position, and with that darker light, I thought, well, that just looks wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to bloody share the stream out.
A lot of ufologists are split over what their end goals are, because there are people who claim certain races are here to help us and certain races are here not to help us, so to speak.
Well, you could argue either way. In my humble opinion.
Yeah,
you could argue either way.
Everybody automatically presumes when you say aliens, they straight away jump to little grey or green men. But if you listen to if you really look into alien abduction, there's at least 11 different major recognised races that they ranging from the little grey things to 7-8 feet tall Atlantean looking type people.
Atlantean looking,
proper Norse god thing.
Nordic features,
yeah.
And as Julie mentioned last night, a lot of people think they're the Nephilim. They're descendants of the Nephilim. It's actually the Nephilim coming back to check on its progeny.
Yeah.
There's you go down that rabbit hole. You better cut lunch in a distress flare because you may never crawl out. But it can be interesting.
See, I tend to subscribe to the theory that at least one of them has been here and genetically modified us. That is my personal belief. I believe they have interfered. I believe we're somebody's giant science project and have been for an extremely long amount of time. I'm talking millions, not thousands of years.
Hundreds of millions of years.
We've been genetically guided to where we are today.
Yeah, well, you look at the way our bodies changed over the years. And
a lot of people believe, are wondering, are this race so far advanced that they've got to the point where the race is dying out, and we've been engineered to hybridize with them to renew their genetic makeup, so to speak. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful theories over there on why abduction occurs.
When you think about evolution, and you only go back to 16, 17, 1800s, and you go to these old cottages and old houses and that, the doors are pretty small.
Yeah.
You go in, you have to steep down and that.
Yeah.
How can a species change in that small amount of time?
Fine.
Because back then, tall people were very, very, if at all, was it even possible? And now we have, 6-foot people and that. But way back when you look into historic buildings and stuff, very often you have to steep down to get in through the door and stuff. How can a species in that short space of time change so much?
Yeah.
We're much older than the timeline. You've got to remember the linear time. That's why I keep raising this issue, is that the linear timeline that we talk about as alleged scientifically proven is false. The linear timeline is as old as the planet.
Yeah.
And you're talking millions, hundreds of millions of years of development.
Mm-hmm.
The linear timeline that science and philosophers and archaeologists talk about now, not all, but some, is based around the Christian calendar.
Yeah.
And we all know that that's just a fictional timeline.
Yeah.
It's been proven so many times. The more artifacts they find in Egypt and Arabia, in Islamic countries, the more it blows the timeline out. I mean, I don't understand why people still talk in small windows of our linear growth when we have developed clearly we have developed much, much longer, and there have been more advanced civilizations over time, rise and fall. We've all discussed this. So, the timelines that people talk about, I always say, think bigger, because we've been around as old as the planet.
Yeah.
And
Pocket Watch is talking about the belief in the 50s when people believed that the government had already got prearranged agreements with these aliens. There is a belief out there that Roswell was not the start of it, that they were well aware before Roswell, and that was why the government got there so quick and cleared everything up so fast. They already knew they were there, and it was just an accidental crash, and they needed to hide the evidence before everything got out. And that was why they went at the base in Roswell. They admitted that it was a UFO. They even described it as a saucer-shaped object because when it crashed, the ship itself didn't disintegrate. It actually ploughed a 500-meter furrow across the field it crashed into, and the majority of the saucer was still intact. So it was still maintained. There was debris scattered all over the area, but the vast majority of the saucer body was still there. It had dug on its edge into the field and ploughed a great 500-meter long furrow through the field, and locals even picked up parts of the material, and they described it as like tin foil with some form of hieroglyphic markings on it, and it was memory metal. It could be screwed up, but the second you opened your hand, it popped back into whatever shape.
Yeah,
and that was decades before we even developed memory metals.
Well, if you have a think about it, right, what if alien life was already here before we were?
Exactly.
We're all alien life anyway.
That is the question.
Yeah. But what if they were here before we were here?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, if you go down the assumption that we are somebody's science project, they probably came and surveyed this planet long before that. They'd have to come and survey the planet to see what was here to work with.
Yep.
And
so if it'd support their kind of life, so they obviously need oxygen and helium and hydrogen and all the things that they're part of them must be some sort of a carbon footprint. Otherwise, they wouldn't have survived and buggered off and discovered something else. Part of them must have been a carbon.
The governments are coming clear about some stuff because they've got international agreements of freedom of information. They have no choice that they have to release certain documents after a certain time. What is interesting about all the stuff they release on UFOs, a lot of it is still heavily redacted. There's a lot of it still blanked out on the actual reports. Now, if these are reports of things that they're claiming is complete rubbish, they wouldn't need to be as heavily redacted as they are, because they are now threat. They're now a threat to national security if they're not real. All said and done.
Yeah.
People are expecting Santa Claus to arrive this month and spill the whole beans on the whole thing. That's not going to happen. There is going to be a report, and even I don't know if the leaked report is actually true, but the leaked report basically says, well, yes,
they can't prove it either way.
There is UFOs, but is there aliens? We still don't know. It's not going to be. It's not going to be mind blowing stuff here. It's going to be the same old. That's all it is. Because I think deep in it all, there is still going to be classified information, and at the end of the day, this world is governed by oil companies and stuff like that. Oil companies, suppressed electric transportation for decades, for a really long time. And the only reason it's coming out now is because of this, this global, save the planet kind of thing. But the companies, the oil companies, already had this technology, but they suppressed it. They paid these inventors off to keep their gob shut about it, And now, that electrification of transportation is coming. That's why the oil companies are involved.
Absolutely. Our global economy back then and even now would collapse in a heartbeat. if they released what they have found.
Yeah.
I mean, look at maglock technology that we use on trains. We accepted on that. Then why is it not feasible that the military, whatever government, is not looking into that technology for radar detection, cloaking, and all sorts of other things? And the other thing that I would say to that, and I've raised it a number of times on everybody's channels, go back to only less than 6 months ago, not even 2.5, 3 months ago, that Israeli director who came out and openly admitted, now this is the highest guy with any security clearance in the Israeli government or military machine, and confirmed that there is a galactic federation, and America and Russia have been part of it going way back.
Yeah.
Even before Roswell, which was the first start of UFO conspiracies and UFOlogy, which is a big umbrella. But however, he came out and freely admitted all of this. He had everything to lose, but he's witnessed it all. He confirmed that he's seen it all. He knows these things to be fact. And he's done a very in-depth, the first time I got wind of it was when I saw his interview on Al Jazeera, and then Global News, and then somebody else I can't remember. But his interview on Al Jazeera a few months ago, you could go back to Al Jazeera News, Global, and you could look this guy up, General something or other, is fascinating. He had nothing to lose, and his interview was as honest, relaxed, and forthright as you could possibly. The pity of that interview, in my humble opinion, is the reporter who needs to be slapped on the side of the head. This guy was giving him information, and he didn't pursue very much of it at all. This guy was clearly willing to talk publicly, and the reporter didn't feed off what this guy was giving him. I wish somebody else would get hold of this guy again, but, the only downside was the reporter who didn't dig deep when this guy was just feeding him information on a platter. But it is a very interesting, and he talks about the Galactic Federation.
It's always interesting. People like that, often disappear or aren't heard of again.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why he did it. Maybe he was threatening to talk, and they said, "You do, and you'll disappear." And he thought, "Well, okay, if you're going to do that, then I might as well just go public and protect myself."
I'll do it.
Because if he disappears now, big question.
Exactly. Yeah.
True.
They're talking about the government hiding things in the chat. I think we're actually in a stage of accelerated desensitization now. I don't think these things are being accidentally leaked. I think they're being deliberately leaked. We are slowly being conditioned to accept that we are going to be visited at some point.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's what's going on. It's a long-term program. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fully agree. We are being prepared for what is going to come. And I think, in my humble opinion, I think, like you do, Brett, I think we're being prepared that there are alien entities out there.
Yeah.
And at some point, they're going to land, and they're just going to blow all these governments' BS away. Yeah. It won't matter after that.
To be honest with you, I think the government's part of it. I think there's already a predefined timetable here, and they're working towards it now. And the closer we get to it, the more the government are dropping out the stuff to get people more and more desensitized to it.
Absolutely.
I really do. And it wouldn't surprise me if it doesn't occur within the next 50 years.
I think it'll be sooner than that, personally. But yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I think with everybody seeing all the video clips and that are popping up from people's mobile phones and that, I think more and more people are seeing the evidence mounting, and they're starting to believe it for themselves as well. I think that it's opening people's eyes, and eventually they're going to have to give us more. Look
at it this way, from this point of view. are people seeing them more because of mobile phones and stuff, or are they just allowing themselves to be seen more?
I would say
that's a question.
I would say potentially both, but I think there's an argument both ways. But I think more and more people, because we now have the technology. Look at that Russian footage that I sent you guys a link to a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
There were just people with their bloody mobile phones.
Yeah.
And here's this giant triangle just cruising over Kiev.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. It's mind-blowing.
And it was massive. And it was at night time. And it was clearly visible, just cruising through the night sky.
Yeah.
Not
Wasn't even trying to hide. No.
Yeah.
You know, it was just extraordinary.
Yeah, but I think, as I touched on my channel last week, a lot of the movies and stuff, I think these are being done with government approval. They are basically getting the message out there that there is good things out there and there is bad things out there, and they're getting us ready for it. You know, like I said in that stream we did last week, you've got films like Cocoon and The Abyss where they are painted as benevolent helpers. And then you've got Independence Day and stuff like that, where they are painted as basically alien locusts.
Yeah,
so,
that was just an American propaganda bloody
but
movie.
I think we're being conditioned to accept the fact that there's both types out there, and at some point it's happening.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that they're kind of slowly weaning us into the idea that there are aliens out there?
Yeah,
then maybe we can be
desensitized. We're being desensitized to the fact, because if they dropped out of the sky now and landed, there would be mass panic. And this is what they're doing. They're desensitizing us to that fact. So it gets to the point that when they do land,
Mel's here.
People are going to be, who's Mel?
Hey, Deb's Mel, friend. How are you, matey?
Deb's friend.
She was the lady that I was saying, a friend of mine that I...
Hi, Mel.
Hello.
That's right. When you pointed down, I thought you meant she was at Deb's house. That was I was looking for.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. All of a sudden, I thought Julie's channeling a Mel. No, she's my mate.
Yeah.
But that's what I think is going on. We're being desensitized to the point where, when they do finally drop out the sky, there's going to be panic, no matter when it happens. But it's not going to be to the point where governments are overthrown.
I remember getting
yes, you did, mate.
Communication and from somebody on a video I done previously, and it was kind of weird. Now it could be complete fabrication, but it was very interesting at the same time, and it was in relation to a pair of glasses that I bought that have got a blue lens in it. And, you're supposed to be able to see auras better with these glasses. And they're in a bag, and it's like a humanoid figure on the bag. And it looks like a kind of a galaxy type of thing. Now, they sent me a video, and then they went into explaining that very often, spacecraft are not physical, they're not visual by the human eye, and these glasses were banned in some countries because it actually uncovered what was going on in the world of unidentified flying objects and stuff.
Yeah,
and I thought this is kind of weird. I don't know if it, there's a lot of fabrication out there, but I thought it was quite interesting as well, especially.
Stop it!
Postie's here.
The post is arrived. I'll be back in a sec before she eats my mail.
Okay.
Yeah. I think leading to the point that we've all touched on a little bit earlier in regarding to this is a topic that we talked about last week when we did UFOs and the paranormal, and we talked about Skinwalker Ranch. That may be very well an example of negative intent.
Yeah.
Because you've got aggressive paranormal, you've got aliens, you've got portals, you've got animals being mutilated, And who's to say, if we accept the premise that we are starseed of a certain description, for want of a better term, then I agree with Brett's point that he's raised a number of times over the last couple of months, that there is no gap in our DNA, that they can't identify what it is. And if we are star child, then what makes us think that only one race raised us or contributed to our development in DNA? We've got to have multiple DNA chromosome links to others, shall we say. Anybody got a thought? I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. It's just, there's no need to think that only one race of beings, and again, I'll go back to the Book of Thoth and the Emerald Tablets. There's no reason to think that there were many gods fighting over control of planet Earth and who was going to be the top boss. And the good guy won, that we were created to be slaves. I think Enki, or the other one, can't remember now. But, you know, two alien beings clashed over who controlled the slaves when the slaves revolted, to either destroy us or to let us survive and thrive.
Yeah. I think that, like,
Denisovians, yeah.
Like, from what you've said and from what Kanga said before about, you know, wouldn't you think they would find, you know, DNA on Mars or something? Do you really believe that if they found traces of alien DNA in our DNA, or even alien DNA on another planet, do you think they would let us know about that?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I think it's possible. I think that anything is possible.
I think it's very... Well, that's true too. You could argue either way.
Yeah.
But the church would suddenly have... No, he's wetted his lettuce. Here we go with his
lettuce. We'll just give it a minute.
His sound effects, since you got that box. Boys and their toys.
I went and made a coffee.
It didn't sound like you were making coffee.
and the rest.
Then you hear the sugar dropping.
Oh, is that what it was, Brett?
Oh, sugar. How many sugars do you have in a cup of tea again? 15.
That was a big sugar.
Yeah.
It's a very
one and a half. I have one and a half.
It's a very strange sounding kettle. Was this something from another galaxy?
Kettle fountain.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Quick, rip out your K2 meter. It'll be a radiation point of some
Don't you think this discussion today has shown how easy it is to get into a subject in the paranormal?
It is, definitely.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could get enthralled in something and talk about it for hours.
You talk to some people and they go, well, you know, I don't know nothing about it, but you have proven you can just go for a week, look at a subject, and you ain't going to be, you know, like massively knowledgeable on it, but you're gonna know enough to hold your own in a topic now.
Yep.
And that's why I always say to people, constantly broaden your horizons. There's more to,
always
more to the paranormal than ghost hunting.
Yes,
just
read,
keep broad,
learn.
just keep broadening your horizons in it.
Teeny little bit of it.
Absolutely.
It kind of goes to show, because I'm probably the most narrow-minded of the whole lot. You hear, like.
Well, you are when it comes to aliens, but you know.
Sam and her little green men.
Yeah.
Little green or little grey?
Little green. Sam
Good
calls them
point.
green.
Sam calls them the little green. Could have been an abduction, a past life. No, who's to say? But Sam's version is that they're green.
Yep. I've often wondered how many different types are out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow, we could speculate till the sun rises tomorrow morning.
There could be thousands. I mean, who knows? I mean, what? Elementals. Do you think elementals are alien?
No.
Well, yeah.
Well, they'd be alien to us.
Basically, anything that isn't terrestrially native to this planet is technically alien.
Technically alien, yeah. So you have a look.
Maybe the elementals are the controllers.
What were you going to say, Sam?
Who knows?
Do you think companies, like Flair, who's involved heavily with the U.S. military, do you think they have a lot of information on UFO technology when it comes to thermal and stuff?
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
And do you think, we have generation 1, Gen 1, 2, and 3, and you cannot import, I tried to import generation 3 from the United States. Do you think there secretly might be a generation 4 and 5 and we don't know about it? Do you think it's more advanced than we actually physically see?
Yes.
Do you know, like you see,
response?
You see, footage of UFOs with and very often these are captured on, thermal scopes that, for focusing guns and stuff like that.
Well, that's what that one on the latest one they released was captured on a thermal imager.
Thermal imager.
Yeah. Do you think there's even more advanced visuals that actually they point blank will not show any of that footage to any of us?
No, because they'll make a determination, Sam, that we are not ready, and that's why, as we've all alluded to, even giving the so-called American report, that the Pentagon was meant to produce, they've neither confirmed nor denied, but anytime under freedom of information in any country, doesn't matter whether it's America or not, every time that there's information released, as Brett alluded to earlier, there are heavily redacted parts of those reports. Mm-hmm. And if there's any evidence, and there was a Russian guy a few years ago that came out and said that he was a guard at an underground base in Russia, and they've got tapes and just as much, if not more, evidence than anybody else, including the Americans. Which is why I segued that in.
What you've also got to remember the military advantages as well, because if you think of the stealth bomber, a lot of the stealth bomber technology came out of nowhere. And the stealth bomber was tested at Area 51.
Yes, it was.
Where these were all supposedly kept at the time, and Bob Lazar has pretty much confirmed that a lot of the stealth bomber technology is directly pulled from what they were researching at S4.
Are they the black triangle planes?
Yeah.
That's them.
Yeah.
A lot of them, it was kept that much secret that a lot of them were actually falsely reported as UFOs in Area 51.
Yes.
But Bob Lazar claims that it was actually the technology they got from because they apparently had 11 separate types of aircraft, flying saucer, whatever you want to call them, at S4 at Dreamland, which is in the Area 51 vicinity.
You've also got to look at companies like Raytheon and Boeing. They get these multi-billion, trillion-dollar long-term contracts to utilize this equipment, not only in a commercial way, on a large production scale. I mean, look at is it the Boeing site that they built in the UK? That thing's massive, or in Germany, I can't remember. But it is absolutely humongous. Mm-hmm. You can see it from space on Google Maps. And they test all this type of technology for the defence contractors, and that's a global government military complex issue. They test all this stuff for commercial use, but before the commercial use is implemented, once they get a way to utilise it with the material knowledge that we have at this point in time, it goes automatically to the military. It doesn't, the same as the internet and night vision goggles and cameras.
There is a lot of claims that night vision technology came directly from Roswell, from the Roswell crash. It was basically reverse engineered from what they recovered at Roswell.
Well, this is like what Pocket Watch just said here. We would create conflict and war and upset the balance of the universe, if we were let into space and that with the technology. I agree with that too, because you look at how we deal with ourselves here. I mean, there's always some war going on in some part of the world somewhere.
Well, you think about it. We did the moon landings. We had the space program in 1969. We dropped a couple of people on the moon, and then it was killed dead.
Yeah.
Now that is the new frontier, and they haven't actually touched that. See, our technology. They put men allegedly, and I do say allegedly because I ain't convinced they actually got there.
Yeah.
They put these astronauts supposedly on the moon with computing power less than your average modern calculator.
Correct.
Right?
Literally, your modern calculator is more powerful than the computers they used back in '69 to put them on the moon.
Yeah.
With the technology we've got now, we should easily be able to expand that to put people on Mars. Yeah.
So why haven't they?
It's taking private companies to suddenly start doing it. Why haven't the government carried on doing it? Because, we're running out of resources on this planet. Who knows what's to be, resource from the likes of Mars and stuff if it's a dead planet. They are mineral rich.
Yeah.
Surely the best place to go and get them would be somewhere like that. Yeah, it would be expensive to set up, but the long-term rewards would far outweigh the initial costs. But yet none of the governments have bothered carrying on further into space. Now it makes you wonder, why haven't they done it? Is it the technology excuse they're using, or is it the fact that there is some kind of veto boycott type thing going on around the planet, where we've been told if you cross that point, things are going to happen?
Yep.
We could literally be being quarantined on our own planet right now and not know about it.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That's
interesting.
come up in discussions on UFO channels currently with the pandemic.
Yeah.
And as I think it was Fairy just then alluded to, about they found bacteria on Mars. Well, originally hundreds of millions of years ago.
Yeah.
So were we, but we were interfered with. We had a DNA jump in evolution. Don't you go there, Brett. Don't. Just keep drinking your cup of tea, old mate.
Oh God, I thought I was going to spit that out then. Oh God, sorry.
Yeah, our nature is aggressive, and yet we clamour for peace. But what do we use to provide peace? It's like that Maya Angelou post that I put on my Facebook page during the week.
Yep.
Hate's the biggest problem in the world today, but it's never solved any.
Yeah.
We're taught to hate and be discriminatory against another race, or jealous of somebody with more cars and material shit that they don't even know what they've got. Somebody's richer than me, good on them. They were obviously whatever.
Yeah, wish them well.
I don't care. Wish them well and get on with your own life. Don't be and don't buy into, it's only a small life. Mate, it's a life. Some people don't get past birth.
Exactly.
We've been gifted longevity because we're all still here.
Yep.
I'm in my 60s. Who knows, I'm closer to the dropping off point. There's more years behind me than there are potentially in front of me.
Yeah. See,
and
I think this could be our biggest limiter as to what's stopping us going out there at the moment. I think it is literally like they preach in Star Trek that we are not emotionally stable enough to go out there and deal with whatever's out there.
In my opinion, we're digressing.
We're too aggressive and warlike at the moment.
Yeah.
And as a species, we're going to have to calm down a hell of a lot before we're allowed, to be getting in touch with whatever else is out there. Because if there is some kind of galactic federation out there, for want of a better word, they've obviously advanced to the point where they're living peacefully with one another.
Yeah.
If we threw humans into the mix at this point, it would be disastrous for them and for us. So I think it's a case of they've realised now that we are potentially one of the species that could join them, but we're wrecking our planet, and the majority of them are coming here to tide us over until we at the point where we can do it for ourselves.
Well, look at the Stargate example. Okay, Sam. As an analogy, there was the little what do they call them? Shit. The little guys with all the brains in the Stargate.
Oompa Loompas.
No, get stuff.
The Asgardians.
I have no idea.
Anyway, the upshot.
The Asgard.
Asgard.
Okay.
Yep, the Asgard.
I knew what they were, but Oompa Loompas was funnier.
Yeah, I knew it was a. The example is there. They had such advanced technology, and we were struggling to get them to share anything, and that's all we wanted out of them, so that they could build warships and ways of defending the planet. Mm-hmm. When really it was about defending one country. It wasn't about sharing that technology. It was about defending one country.
Yeah.
There's no way to expect that our nature has changed that much. We're not that far away in time from the Cold War periods. Mm-hmm. And there's no reason to suppose that we would, if it happened to be, say, for example, we found out that Pine Gap was more than just a telecommunications and the eyes and ears and control center, the United States Five Eyes satellite watches. That's what's out there. Say the UFOs landed in another country like Australia, neutral, they'd be better off going to New Zealand. But
I was going to say, depending on where they land, they'd think boring here, nothing's growing, and leave. The Dutch did.
If they really want to get on with a peaceful entry into and let us know that there's another race out there, the best place on the planet for them to land would be New Zealand. If they land anywhere else, the potential for conflict is, and the media would play a huge part in this, oil companies, as Sam alluded to, anybody with a conflict of interest towards what they could show us of a better way to live would be screaming for, they're here to kill us. Can you imagine Fox News in America? My God, they'd go ballistic and create a war like the movie Wag the Dog, just so that people would be frightened. Mm-hmm. And fear is enough to drive us to do stupid things. And that's what we haven't gotten over as a species.
Fear is the mind killer.
Fear is the mind killer.
A nice quote from
June. Yeah, I'm keen for the remake. But yes, Evelyn, I believe she would. That Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, would protect them as sentient beings, which they are, far more advanced than we are. We're not the pinnacle of evolution.
Far from it.
We're barely off the bloody entry to the going up one level of escalators. We can't be trusted with anything advanced because we weaponize the shit out of it so fast. Yeah. Look at the nuclear option. We we destroy the planet and every living thing on it for thousands of years. Mm-hmm. Who'd want us then?
And when people start fighting, like countries start fighting, what's the first thing they threaten? War. Yeah.
Yep.
But I don't think we'll get anywhere out in space with contact until this planet is united as one planet.
Yeah, we need to fix this.
Yeah,
we need absolutely
humanity.
To demonstrate. Yep.
Yeah, we need to see we need to view ourselves now as humanity, not as separate countries. And until we reach that stage where we view ourselves as a planet rather than as a group of countries on the planet, we're going to get nowhere.
Absolutely.
Mm. Well, as Kanga said there, I think this is important. Humans are too focused on insignificant, petty things. If we got past and respected gender, race, and I want to add in opinions and everything else, we'd have substantial knowledge and abilities and create some truly amazing things. We would. Mm-hmm.
We would.
Mm-hmm.
If we all work together. I mean, the fact that there are children in wars in Somalia, that there are droughts and children go to bed with no food and die of all sorts of, thirst. I mean, what's humane about that? How can we pat ourselves and say, oh, but we're a first world country? Well, big whoop.
But then again, from the other side of that argument, there's the argument that you've got a lot of people concentrating in those areas where the land simply cannot sustain that amount of humans, and we can't impose ourselves on the planet like that any longer. That is, as awful as it sounds, that is nature's way of saying there's too many of you in this area.
Yeah.
Well, the latest conspiracy theories, and I'll segue into that, but I want to two-prong that because I want to give a counter argument to that point. But segueing into that, Brett, America is the biggest arms dealer in the world. So are the Russians, so are the Chinese, and so is the UAE collectively.
Mm-hmm.
If they were placed under threat by some type of technology, they would respond. They have a self-interest in doing so, as Sam has alluded to many times. The oil companies.
Mm-hmm.
There are arid areas, but the best country in the world that has developed ways of dealing with living in a dry, arid climate is Israel. They are growing food and reclaiming desolate land with limited water supplies, but growing food for their people in ways that it uses technology and hydroponics that isn't talked about. We could set up those projects collectively all over the world. There is no reason whatsoever for anybody to go hungry on this planet. We could reclaim a lot of land by utilising it more effectively and more efficiently and more environmentally friendly.
I understand that, but I'm a big believer in the Gaia theory, and I think we have, as a species, we have got to the point where we are overrunning this planet, and that these areas are there for a reason. They're inhospitable to humans for a reason, as far as I'm concerned. They're there for us not to be there, to keep our numbers in check. If we start irrigating areas like that to the point we end up with something like Coruscant off Star Wars, where the planet is just basically one giant city, we're doomed.
I understand.
It doesn't have to be a city, but there's land on this planet. Sorry, my apologies.
No, it's all right. Go on.
No, go.
I was just going to say, I understand that, there's the world is massively overpopulated, and eventually it's going to correct itself. Yep. However, in some other areas, and I will use this as an example, I've been watching TikTok, and I follow one person in particular who I feel passionately about, their story, is the fact that the Native Americans, for instance, a lot of them are still living on land where they don't have clean water. And I think that in respect to situations like that, they need to fix it. They can't just push people into these areas and go, you deal with it.
The difference there, Julie, is the water's naturally there. It just needs some cleaning process. So that area can actually sustain human life. But if we start enforcing irrigation into areas where nature doesn't want it to be, just so we can put even more of us on the planet and keep, we're just going to keep expanding. And then we start going against the balance of nature.
Well, this is where, if for instance, some of these areas that they've spoken about, they say that the water that's in the ground is it's no good. It's got too much salinity and stuff in it. Yes, exactly. So why push these people into the bloody land that they're on? Move them somewhere else where they can have land in a place where they can have fresh water and be able to grow crops and things.
And that segues into my other point, the track that I wanted, because I did say I wanted to. So you've beautifully led me to that. Thank you, Julie. as
You're
always. For the last 20 years that I've been monitoring it, the American Defense Department's annual report to government has claimed that the biggest threat to the United States, but this could be taken on any country on the planet at the moment, right, of environmentally impacted areas and mobility of people looking to survive. So the migration of whole countries, think Venezuela, it's drought-ridden, they've used resources and allowed countries like America and others to come in, UK, so forth, to come in and strip their country of all its wealth and used its water for gold and whatever, and it's now dirty water. They're migrating in large numbers all over the globe simply to survive. Not to thrive, just simply to survive. Why can't we, as a species, take migration as an environmentally humane A, discourse, and B, a serious subject for discussion, and not blame the victims? What if it was us and we were going to another country saying, please let us in, we need food and water and shelter, which are basic human rights under the UN Human Rights Charter. And here we are sitting in first world countries prognosticating on people that are dying of thirst, let alone food. And there's only so many hours that the brain and the body can go without water, longer without food, but you can only go 36 hours. The brain will start to lose synaptic pathways and memory from the lack of basic H2O. I mean, look at when it rains. It goes down bloody gutters and straight into the sewage system. Why aren't we using water tanks? Particularly in England, it persists down with rain more than anywhere.
We do over here.
Oh, you do?
We do here, but not as a life-sustaining practice. We say we recycle, but 2/3 of what we recycle could still be cut and recycled even more.
Well, very, very often, we have spells in the summertime where it's pretty dry for a couple of weeks, and next thing you have water restrictions and hose pipe bans. And the thing was, it's been pissing rain all winter, like.
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense to me, to be honest.
Totally agree. I couldn't agree with you more, Sam.
That's because when it rains in the winter, they fill up the reservoirs. We've got all the big reservoirs over here, and then once everybody starts sucking on that water in summer when there's no more rain, where are you going to get it from? The reservoirs ain't magically refilling.
That's why I'm opposed to fracking.
Yeah,
because it fractures the water table.
Yeah, we banned a lot of it over here now.
Yeah, well, we're still killing ourselves, finding ways to kill ourselves for money. Money's not going to help you when the planet's resources are expended.
We'll not go down that rabbit hole. Pocket watch. We're doing paranormal, not political rabbit hole.
It's we got a glimpse of what the world and humanity was able to be like over the last year and a half in some instances, in regard to, there were many countries that ran out of resources and things, and other countries banded together to make sure that things were sent over, that everybody had what they needed to get through. And if there was more of that in everyday life, the world would be a bit of a better place.
And maybe that's where people will end up taking their power back. We surrender so much sovereignty to governments. It's insane. Why? They're there to represent us, not the other bloody way around.
Yep.
I totally agree with you.
All right, so maybe if we want to pull back into the paranormal soon, we can get into Cole. Oh, Cole.
It was interesting. Cole put in an appearance. last night.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, when we ran the spirit box. So for anyone that wasn't on Brett's stream last night, we were running the spirit box for a period of time, and we actually had the name Cole come through the box, which is the name of our very own Philip experiment. So, how have you guys gone during the week with your thought patterns and things? Have you been thinking about Cole? Yeah, me too. I've kind of sat down and, made myself think of the conversation. I wonder what his children look like. I wonder where they are and what they're doing and things like that, to try and build into that mind frame. So
it was interesting that over the last week, I documented, I don't make a big song and dance about it. I have a dates on the recordings, but everybody in this stream has been mentioned a couple of times during the week through the Spur Fox, basically.
Yep, which is very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
And that was quite evident too last night as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird, and I mean, like, we didn't mention Cole last night, and Cole came up, and then I had forgotten. I said, "Who's Cole?"
Mm-hmm.
And they reminded me, Cole is the person we discussed last week, and I said, "Oh, right, that's right." But it came up quite clear. And you were going, "Wow, Cole," and I'm going, "Who's Cole?"
I did. When I heard it, I nearly leapt out of my chair.
Yeah. Because every couple of hours I'm doing a different recording, so my mind is constantly in a different place.
It might be worthwhile going back on all your week's recordings and seeing if Cole's popped up any other place. I mean, it ain't registered with you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's a pity that I don't sort of, on a daily basis record and put them out on that date, but because they're spread over a number of months, kind of thing. So I'm going to try and tidy it up a little bit if I can,
Yeah.
to be more sort of in time sort of thing.
There were some absolutely brilliant responses on that box last night.
Yeah.
Some really timely ones as well.
That was a
As
phenomenal
just said,
session.
that was trippy.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
And the interesting thing too was you all were mentioned without me bringing the names up,
Yeah.
We didn't push Cole last night. We were talking about something else.
Yeah.
We never you can call out a name, you can call out Frank, Mary, blah blah blah. You can keep doing that, and eventually somebody's going to copy it. But we did not push this at all last night, because we were talking about something completely different. And I didn't actually know what was going on when everybody was going, Cole, and I'm going, who's Cole? So that's it. That's even more interesting,
Yep.
See, that's why I'm always wary about calling out for specific people on the spirit box, because I have had so many examples where you mention something and suddenly it gets mentioned within a few minutes. It makes you wonder, are they just saying it because that's what they want you to? They think you want to hear. That's why I'd rather keep spirit boxes general and say, is there anybody here, rather than, can I speak to Auntie Mabel from down the road? Because I think you're inviting something to say, claim it's Aunt Mabel from down the road. Then
you see, you can go down that road after a couple of years, when you gather all your information and you get some sort of a picture of who you're talking to. But I have hundreds of recordings, and I'm still not even there.
Yeah.
I turn on the spirit box every morning, and what goes through my mind? Where is this communication coming from? Who is it? Whose age? who's Philip, who's Dave. I still don't flipping know. And I've loads of recordings, and it's still not giving me that much information.
This is why I say people have got to get out of their heads about these boxes. They are not spirit boxes. They are communication boxes. Yep. There is, we've got absolutely no proof whatsoever that these people, for want of a better word, we're talking to, are actually or were ever people. We've got absolutely no proof whatsoever. Yeah, we could be talking to anything, absolutely anything. You've got to get out that mindset that you're talking to the dead, because you cannot say with any certainty that you are. All you know is you're talking to something.
Yeah, there is some researchers that have been asking, on this other side, are you using any sort of electronic equipment to communicate with us? And the answer they've been getting is yes. And another guy who's an audio engineer, was called out to, and they said, yes, what's up? Testing. And next thing, it came out with a load of these beeps. And it says, did you hear that? And he says, yes.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So, what the visions we look at, in regard to, life after death, where our energy goes into a different plane, that's not a physical plane.
Mm-hmm.
The questions these people are asking is some kind of physical plane, because we're talking about other technologies.
Yeah.
Communicated back to us. So,
yeah.
That's kind of, that kind of widens the whole scope of things even further. Not to throw out the the spirits of dead people out the window completely.
Oh no.
We also have to look beyond that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People need to get out the mindset that it is definitely dead people they're talking to. Because it could just as easily be like something Jeff put there. We could be talking to something from another dimension. We could be talking to some kind of species that is totally energy based. And if they're totally energy based, that means they can read the electrical impulses in your head. They can literally see your electrical impulses or sense them. They could literally pull pictures straight out of your head and information.
Yeah.
That is perfectly capable for something that is totally energy based could possibly do. It may not even have ever lived on this planet.
Well, we asked that question last night and got a definitive no.
Yeah.
That it hadn't had a human experience.
Yeah. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So the question is, well, what were we talking to?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly wasn't a dead spirit of something. And I agree with you. I think we should stop referring even to it as a spirit. It's an entity. That's it.
It's a communicator. That's all you can say it is.
Yeah, I mean, like, there is a lot of skeptics out there that says, well, what it basically is the game of, spin the bottle. When you ask a question, you've got snippets of the radio, will give you that piece of information out of a load of information. But this method that we're using throws that out of the water because I've done loads of recordings where I've got direct answers to specific questions time after time after time in a short space of time. The chances of that happening are physically impossible.
Absolutely.
And that's what the skeptics don't take into account. And actually the skeptics don't do this research for a number of years and come to that conclusion. To buy a PSP7 of the internet, because the ghost hunters get them, and they try it for a couple of times and say, all I'm hearing is pieces of radio and static.
Yeah.
This is a load of nonsense. And then they go on the YouTube and say, the spirit box is not real. It's just radio.
Yeah.
With
if you think about it, not only do they go in with like preconceived ideas, they go into it with preconceived opinions. They're not open-minded.
Oh, yeah.
They've decided either it works or it don't, so they approach it with that kind of what's it. So they look for every time it fails or every time it don't work, and then they may get one piece of amazing information in that thing, but they probably don't always just luck. Yes, it could be luck. For all we know, it could just be random chance occurring. But the paranormal is called the paranormal for a reason. It's not happening constantly all the while. So by its very nature, you're only going to get these occurrences happening rarely anyway, regardless of what you're communicating with.
Yeah.
You know, they never take things like that into consideration.
Yeah. No. Well, you take example this subject today, right? You know, you have done the research. You've come up with the evidence. I came into this stream, you know, with the mindset, you know, this is a little, you know, it's no, I can't go with this. Yeah, but you have come up with information that I can't answer. Mm-hmm. So can I say that this is a load of nonsense, judging by a few pieces of information I got on the internet? I can't do that. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
And that's a fair point, Sam. That is a very valid point.
Yeah.
You know, Brett proved last night, and again with the experiments that we've been conducting over the last month and a bit. But Brett proved it last night. I think he asked a question. By all means, Brett, correct me if I'm wrong. Around the context of a future point in time, or what year are you from, or something, and it went absolutely silent.
Yeah,
there was nothing, no static, no nothing. The Sam's box went absolutely dead flat.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's no way, even with what we're trying to do, we push the limits, and we're using experimental methods. That, as I said last week, we are using experimental methods that anybody can use. So I say that we're pushing bounds of the paranormal and what we think we know with empirical evidence. We're gathering some really interesting stuff, and it's repeatable by anybody. And that is the basis. That is the very, very basis of a scientific method. Is it repeatable?
Yeah.
And can those conclusions be either verified or debunked? That is it.
Yeah.
So for anybody that thinks that we're doing stuff off the wall, we're not. We're following very strong scientific methodologies that can be repeated, and that's why I keep starting to use the word empirically proved, or an empirical scientific method that we're pushing, because anyone could do it. It's not just us. We don't have any magic whoop cushion somewhere.
Yeah.
We're just gathering evidence, and no, I don't think, for myself, I haven't come to a conclusion. We don't know where any of this is going.
Yeah.
It when we started with the Phillips method last week, all of us confirmed, and Brett said it very, very well, that there's no reason to think that in a few months' time that we won't get anything and we'll fall flat on our face, like the original team did initially.
Exactly.
There's no reason to suppose that we're going to come up trumps just because it's the four of us. We haven't even got a magic blue pill.
Yeah.
The thing is, we may get information that we weren't even looking for. We might end up being in a completely different direction that we didn't even plan.
Absolutely.
Because of what comes back, you know, to us.
Totally agree.
You know?
Julie? Oh, she's muted.
Yeah.
May I, on this stream, with your permission, respond to Pocket Watch's question, please?
Which one's that?
What's my channel about?
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I thought to be polite, and it's your channel.
Thank you for asking.
No, it's just respectful. For everybody's information, about 10 hours ago, these guys helped me set up my YouTube channel. It's called Funky You. There's no hyphen. Deb on YouTube. There's no content there at the moment. It's only 10 hours old. what's the basis and what am I going to be discussing? Pretty much anything. It'll be a talk. We'll talk about hormones in young girls. We'll talk about UFOs and paranormal. You will see these guys intermittently or together come up on stream. It will be a streaming program.
You ain't going to be seeing me when you're talking about hormones in young girls, because I'm sorry, I know absolutely nothing about that.
Well, you could talk about young boys, because I don't know much about that. But all I'm saying is that it amazes me how many women don't realise that in our teens, prior to menstruation, once we start that cycle for the rest of our lives, we're producing estrogen. Scientific fact, proven multiple times on various research studies around the globe, but proven that we, for 3 weeks out of the month, produce testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
And then for 1 week of the month, we're reduced to a screaming mess because we produce an excess of estrogen, which is a counterproductive hormone in our bodies. So we think we're going crazy. We're crying on the floor 1 minute and we're wrestling bears in the outback, like Bear Grylls for 3 weeks out of the month, every month.
No, you were right the first time out the year.
All I'm saying is it's going to be a broad channel. I'll be doing setting up another channel with Julie and Brett's help, doing vlogs. Now I've got my drone, I will be doing urban explores of Perth and haunted areas. I may even get into some investigations myself when I'm there, and just show you how beautiful WA is and how diverse it is. So it's going to be about a great many things. It's not just going to be about the paranormal. It's going to be about our everyday lives. So you can come on and
using my drone.
Ask any question. You know, you ask us questions all the time, but they're not always about the paranormal. You know, there needs to be a platform for that. So my attitude to this is raise an issue. I will do some research like Julie has this week. If I haven't got any factual information or background in it already, I will research it and give you factual information, where I got the links from, where I got the information from, and you can research it yourself and make your own determinations. All I will do is look at something like the keto diet. I don't know, pick a subject. It is broad. It is not going to be limited to any particular thing. I will talk about anything. Domestic violence, politics, the state of politics in the world, like we have a bit tonight. Personally, I think that given some of the things that we've touched on over the last 2 weeks with UFOs and aliens, it wouldn't surprise me if Brett's point's going to be proved, that if people are governed by this galactic federation, our governments make choices that we're not aware of and for whatever reason. Let's talk about that.
Yep.
For a couple of hours. I'm not going to be limited to any particular type of anything. It's just going to be an open forum, and we'll talk about safety in the sex industry, attitudes to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. STDs. I don't know. I could rant and rave. So to answer your
that'd be a thrilling topic.
Well, in young people,
what we're going to do? Sit here and compare our STDs.
I won't give you my postcode on it, but chlamydia in young people is on the rise. Let's talk about health. As a parent, you can help inform your children if you've got better information instead of somebody else's opinion. Curry beliefs, yes, pocket watch. I will be having relatives and elders on. I've already sort of laid the groundwork for some of that, knowing that I was going to get up to a point where this channel would happen.
Yeah.
Yes, I will be getting elders from here in WA. These are not my lands. I'm a Kamilaroi woman from New South Wales, and we're the second biggest mob in Australia. And we were originally a matriarchal mob, and to a large extent still are.
Can you get somebody to come on and play the didgeridoo? Because I like the didgeridoo.
Yeah, it has to be a man, doesn't it?
Well,
Only men
yes,
can
it
play.
does, and that's where I'm looking at getting an elder. I think somebody asked that question a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago about when I said that I'm from an Aboriginal descent.
Yeah.
I think somebody asked me, can I play the didgeridoo? And I went, no, it's a forbidden instrument for women.
I just got a brilliant idea. I'll tell you after the stream. So no one
Roger that.
The idea.
It'd be good if
write
you
it down. Don't
somebody
forget
to come on and talk about dream walking.
Well, that's part of. I was going to invite Knox to come on and talk from his country, his mob and what they believe, and some other people. And
I'd love to hear the thoughts on dream walking.
Our ancestors walk with us all the time, Brett. You've heard me say this many a time, and I haven't expanded on it. But yes, that's one topic that I am looking to set up a stream about and have some elders that are willing to talk. Not all want to. So I have to respect that, and they will speak culturally about what they believe on their land. So yeah, that's going to be a big having an Aboriginal theme through this channel is going to be a big issue for me. So what you've just alluded to, it's a huge part of my life. It's part of my DNA. I can't deny that. And you'll see some cousins and aunts and uncles and all sorts of people, and you'll look at them and look at me and go, what happened? I've got cousins that are as dark as night. And yet we're related by blood and ancestry.
History happened.
The ancestors, yes.
Yeah.
So that hopefully that answers your question, Pocket Watch, and watch this space is all I can say.
Yep.
Thank you, Julie.
Do you want to tell them while they're here, Brett, about what you're doing next week?
Yeah.
For anyone that wasn't here last night, yeah.
Next week I'm bringing back the Are You Psychic stream that I used to do once a month on the channel before I had the heart attack. I'm probably going to need one of you three to keep scores while I do it, because Andy used to do it for me. But basically what it is, next week we're working from Streamlabs instead of StreamYards. So there will be the normal guessing the Zena cards. Then we'll do the guessing the colours on the spin wheel. And then we will basically do tell me three things about three images I have actually got hidden on the screen. And then we add all the scores up, and then whoever's got the highest score is declared the channel psychic of the month. And we will do that once a month, every month. So we get a new psychic champion every month. So that's what's going on next Friday. Yeah. So if you want to be part of it, make sure you're on the chat, you're on the stream at the beginning, because otherwise you'll lose points for not, doing all the activities. But we normally have a good laugh when we do the Are You Psychic night. Especially when Sam won it first time and then turned out to be the least psychic person the following month. That was quite funny.
Yeah.
Do we need to bring anything along, or just ourselves?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need pen and paper?
Whichever one of the three of you is doing it, keeping score for me, we'll need a pen and a paper to write the names down and score people.
I'll be the first to not participate, and I'll bring pen and paper and keep tab.
Okay, that's brilliant.
Okay. There'll be other times down the road.
Yeah.
But we normally have a real good laugh when we do the Are You Psychic. If you go and look on my channel, there is actually two on there that have already been done from previously. You'll see how it works. It gets quite competitive amongst the chat.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Yeah.
As if our music quizzes in Discord hasn't been competitive enough.
We need to do it. We need to do another one.
Bloody Julie wipes the floor with a lot of us.
Doesn't it? Because she types
touch type.
Everybody else.
I can touch type.
All right.
Oh, bringing some good old fun back to the streams.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a music challenge one night and get the chat involved on who can think of whatever this
the
is
good
on.
thing about it, Jazz, if you can't actually make it to the stream, you can still do the psychic quiz. It just means you have to pause it every time and then, let it run again once you pick whatever you want to pick. And then you just have to score yourself and put it in the channel comments of what you actually scored at the end.
Yeah.
So, you can play it once it's the live's finished, but it's actually more fun on the live because people start to get really competitive with one another down there.
Yeah.
Why, Brett, are you talking about the four of us? We're not competitive with each other.
People in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Start to get really competitive with one another.
Yeah.
Mel said she'll come help you, Deb. Keep score.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate that.
You can still actually do it, Deb, because Andy used to take part while he was keeping score.
So let me get used to the format first. So Mel and she can come over and we'll sit here and keep score and keep each other honest because she only lives across the road.
Good.
On the other side of the park. So, you can meet Mel and we'll keep score and keep it all, and we'll take the piss out of everybody while we're watching.
Sounds good.
But it's all, like I say, there's examples of it on the channel already of when we've done it in the past, and it'll be pretty much set up the same way. But it's always a fun night. It's just basically a psychic quiz, and it's all light-hearted. There's nothing strenuous about it whatsoever.
Oh, Evelyn's just confirmed even I'd figure it out. Good on you, mate.
Gay has just asked, what is Discord? Do you want to answer that while I drop your link, Brett?
Well, Brett's the best one for that.
Discord is a communication platform that's been around for years. If you're a gamer, you'd know of it. It started off as a way for online gaming community to talk to each other while they were playing games. It's now expanded to people tend to combine it with their channels, so you can basically leave posts in there, you can leave links to videos, or you can even go into pretty much virtual conference rooms and literally talk to people live, like you're having a telephone conversation with them. So you can even have like off YouTube discussions on there.
Yep.
Right down to streaming your cameras and stuff. It's a bit like Skype, but a bit more advanced.
I like it too. I like the setup, and I like the way you can chat to people and share things. It's really fun. Yeah.
And they can chat with each other 24/7, whether we're there or not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's up
absolutely.
24/7. Once it's set up, it's up there 20. It's think about it as combining Facebook with Skype, and that's pretty much what Discord is.
Yep. It is good, Gay. It's really good. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to discuss, or do you want to leave it here? Because I know you guys are quite tired after the stream.
I've livened up now. I'm all right.
Same as that.
It'll be this afternoon.
Yeah, I've got my second win now.
Yeah.
But if you're tired and the kids, you whatever.
No, I'm okay.
No dramas. Yeah.
I'm okay.
I've got on my soapbox slip. It wasn't soap on a rope. And,
yep.
Yeah, so we're just yarning.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can just keep talking, or, if you guys want to look into, we don't have to look at coal this week, but if you guys want to, we can pull out one device or something. And I can even do the rods again. Guys can ask questions, or.
That was wicked last night. You were on the money with that. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Well,
the
box is set up if you want to use that. It's up to yourself, really.
Yeah.
Go for
and,
it.
Another thing too is, I have a channel that's basically one big long spur box experiment. We're hoping that you will sort of come and get involved because it's getting boring by myself. So you've got that channel, you got the main channel. And we can have these conversations during the week. We can have more and more of these kind of conversations, and more of an opportunity to do that. And at the end of the day, it's about the community, and the more opportunities to talk, it's good in that way because we all have opportunities for that communication. So hopefully, my channel that's gone a little bit stale. We can incorporate that into the community sort of thing, and have discussions on that too.
Absolutely. So is that going to be on the
Absolutely.
TV productions or the ITC channel?
Well, the ITC is we can talk about ITC and getting involved in turning on the box and listening out and calling out questions. You can get involved in that. The main channel, we can talk about similar things to this, or whatever,
Perfect. Let me share them.
It's an opportunity to have more communication inside the community, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Evelyn, we've got to talk about Evelyn. She keeps raising it when she was talking about a doll last night on Sam's box. Remember, and she was thinking about getting or making a doll, and it told it was haunted, and we would come through.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And about, I think also she asked earlier about when her name came through the box, and we're like, Evelyn, do you have a message? And it said no. And we're like, do you want Evelyn to ask you a question? And it said, ask now.
And the beauty about this is we're not searching through snippets of sound. We ask a question and there's a tiny window for an answer. And the rest of it's just silent.
But that was really direct.
Yeah.
It was. How did it word it? Look, deprived sleep and memory's not as flashing on the point as it usually is, so I apologise in advance. But I think, Evelyn, correct me if I was wrong, there was one point, where, as Julie said, it led you to ask it the question and get the doll so that we could haunt or come through or something. It was a we. Like there was many.
It was us. It said us.
Yeah, she wanted to ask the box if she was going to have a spirit doll come into her life or into her home.
She was thinking about getting one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the box was a bit too enthusiastic about doing it for my liking.
Yeah. It's like, yes, please.
Do it and we will come.
Build it, we will come.
It was the us reference I don't like. I'm like, nah.
Yeah. We're not one, we are many.
You seem to be being a bit over enthusiastic about recommending this doll.
Yeah. Well, no, there's something very, very off with that.
So before we turn the box on, guys, I have Sam's channel links there for Afterlife TV Productions, Life Afterlife, and Life Afterlife ITC. So if you don't have those, go check them out. That's where Sam puts all of her sessions, her investigations, and upcoming perhaps coffee mornings and get-togethers with people. So you don't want to miss out on those. Yep.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'd be thinking no deal as well, Jack. They were a bit too enthusiastic about you getting one last night for my liking, and what they were saying afterwards about who was gonna come and visit the doll. Us.
Yeah. The thing is, sometimes we get amazing communication, but I do still take it with a pinch of salt.
No.
Yeah, but Kanga's just raised a good point. Maybe the doll would be a portal for more than one to come through. Thoughts?
It could do. See, I ain't, as you know, I ain't a big liker of haunted dolls. For me personally, I don't think things attached to dolls. I think they may have something may have a connection to it. That it may be something that they were fond of in their childhood, so they can actually connect with the person who's got it. They know where it is, but I don't think they're in any way, because the word attached makes it sound like there's some umbilical cord connecting them to the doll, and I just don't think that's how it works. I think they just know where the doll is because they've got an emotional attachment to it. I think it's just a normal ability that whoever we, communicate with has got, that they can locate things like that. I don't think they're physically attached to it as such. And I certainly don't think anything haunts a doll.
Let me ask you this, from what she said there, could it be a portal? Do you think a portal, if there is a portal, for instance, is in a set location? Like a portal, I would think wouldn't be able to move. But is that a wrong assumption? Can a portal move?
Again, portals, I don't subscribe to them.
Yeah.
Because
I'm on the fence over portals.
Unless you're talking about dimensional things, then there has to be a portal where they come through. But if you're talking about spirit world, I honestly don't believe portal that the spirit world's all around us. They don't need a portal to come through as such. They're everywhere anyway, like we are.
Yep.
I imagine the spirit world for us is like a slightly transparent layer over the top of ours. They exist in the same time and space as us, just on a slightly different frequency.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
We're occupying the same space at the same time, so they don't actually need a portal to come through. But that's just my personal opinion. Yeah, I think they can just pop up wherever they want to. I just think they have an emotional tap, and it don't have to be a doll. It could be anything that they were fond of.
Yeah, house, the land.
Yeah, it could be the favourite clock on the mantelpiece. I just think if they've got some kind of an emotional attachment to something, they can locate it. But I don't think they're physically attached to it, sort of thing.
You see, the thing is too, things get muddled. I do sessions here, and sometimes I get French through. And then the other day I says, I've got a French clock in the hallway. Am I putting 2 and 2 together and making 22? That kind of way.
Yeah.
So that's where things get kind of complicated when we jump to conclusions, or we go on theories that some people claim that there isn't a full science explanation to it.
No.
And a lot of the time people follow people follow belief rather than follow actual facts. That's what happens in the paranormal, and that's how paranormal is extremely complicated. We follow beliefs, but certain beliefs are put out and they're more popular than others. And then next thing, it is turned into facts without scientific proof.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's how things get a little bit muddled.
See, but going back to the attachment thing, I prefer to use the word connection. They have a connection to an object rather than an attachment, because to me, attachment brings up, like I say, the image of they're somehow physically attached to it by an umbilical cord, and they can't really move away from it, kind of thing. I just believe things have got a connection with objects that they if you've got their pocket watch, they know where that watch is and they can come and communicate with you. I don't believe they're doing it through the actual watch. They just know where that watch is, and it's just it's like a beacon for them, more so than that they're like glued to it in some way.
Okay.
I personally just think connection's a better word to use than attachment, because attachment does suggest
I'd agree with that.
Physical fixing together, and I don't think that's actually what goes on.
Yeah. And I would go along with that because, I bought a radio from a guy in the United States who makes these spirit box radios.
Yeah.
And he's got a paranormal story of his house, and there's names of people that he mentions. Now, when I bought this box, I all of a sudden started getting these names all the flipping time.
Yeah.
The thing is that, to me, would not be an attachment, because there's other people out there in the UK are getting exactly the same names coming through their box. So that would tell me that there's connection rather than attachment to those those kind of things, you know.
Yeah.
See, I believe that everything that you come into contact with or touch or whatever else leaves a trace of your own energy. And I often
I was
wondered.
just about to answer that.
Yeah.
In
Agreed.
I was
Yeah.
going to touch on the same thing.
It acts as a kind of beacon. They always, they're like location aware somehow.
Yeah,
I don't think they're physically, I don't think they can only step 5 feet away for it and they rubber band back to it. And that's what the term attachment makes it sound like. And when you listen to a lot of these, what's the word for these people? I'll say misguided people seem to, because they watch a lot of these paranormal channels who tout all these haunted dolls. They get they accidentally get the impression that these spirits are actually somehow trapped inside these dolls and stuff, and they're not. They could bugger off to the other side of the world and take a vacation if they want to. But I believe in an instant they can snap back to that doll because they always know, no matter where they are, they know where that doll is. I don't think they're actually attached to it physically. But there is a lot of confusion because of all these haunted dolls like Annabelle and God knows what. People have somehow convinced themselves that the ghost somehow lives inside the actual plastic body of the doll. And that's where I think a lot of people make the mistake.
Well, see, I had that conversation when I was on the podcast with, I can't remember their name now. It's linked on my Facebook page. They asked me about Clara, and they said to me, does Clara have an attachment? And I said no. I said the spirit with her, I said it can move around, it can come and go and can leave if it wants to. It chooses to stay near the doll, but it doesn't have to. And they're like, do you have proof that your doll is haunted? I said no. I said, I know it is. I said, but I can't prove to you that it is.
I wouldn't say your doll's haunted. Because haunted then you get the connotations that spirit just hangs around that doll all the while. That spirit's only focus is that doll, and I don't believe that's the fact.
No. Yeah,
that's
we
why
kind of have.
That's why I don't like the term haunted doll, because I don't think anything's haunting the doll. She just likes the doll. She's got like she would be in human life.
It's a spirit that hangs with the doll, at times. But yes,
but I don't think they're actually haunting the doll, because haunting the doll signifies that no matter where that doll is, that spirit has to be to haunt it, and that's why I don't like the terms attachment and haunted, because I don't think they're contained in them.
It's not you; it's my kids.
No, I was laughing at Kanga's statement. You raise a really, really good point.
Exactly, Kanga. Exactly. That's spot on. Who would choose to spend the eternity inside the body of a plastic doll, or just hanging around the body of a plastic doll? Because you're going to have a very boring eternity if your existence revolves around not moving 2 feet away from a doll.
Yeah, what I was leading to, and you both sort of touched on it a little bit, but we didn't sort of pursue it. And with Brett's definitions with portals, which is probably one of the better ones that I've ever heard, which is why I said initially I'm on the fence. I'm not going to languid on that. When we use the term, as you've commented tonight and at other times, Brett, that a spirit box is really just a communication device. We shouldn't be calling it a spirit box per se. Is the word haunted, is the connotation behind the word a human construct, or do we need to be thinking of something else? Or questioning in some way?
It's definitely a human construct, the term haunted. Because the only true hauntings I think there are residual hauntings. See, I don't even class what people say as intelligent hauntings as hauntings, because I think the intelligent ones are not forced to stay in the area. They just choose to appear in the area. Whereas with a residual, I think that's a playback. So they are that is an haunting, because they are literally affixed to the place. They, wherever the actual physical material of the building is, that's where that particular, residual will appear. Whereas,
like the stone tape theory.
Yeah. I'd rather call them intelligent visitations rather than intelligent hauntings, because I think they visit rather than live in the area. Because again, who's going to want to spend the eternity in some crumbly, empty old house that nobody ever goes in?
I don't think that they're stuck to a property. I don't think that they have to stay there.
Yeah.
But I think that for some of them, they choose to stay there. Maybe it was the home where they grew up and had their own family.
Yeah. That's what
but
I
don't think
they choose to visit the place. They're not glued to it. Whereas with a residual, it's believed they're actually linked to the physical building or physical object, so they have no choice. Wherever that building is, they have to be. So, if you took the bricks down and moved the building somewhere else, they would have to start appearing in that location because they're physically connected to the bricks. It's just a replay.
Yeah, I reckon that's more their energy rather than a spirit, don't you think? Yeah?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's
like a memory.
A memory.
That's what
Correct.
As an haunted.
Yeah.
That is what our class as an haunting, whereas, intelligent ones, I think they're more visitation because sometimes they can appear in different buildings in a close location. So they're not technically haunting a building, they're visiting various buildings within an area.
Yeah.
So that's why I'd rather use the term visitation than haunted.
Absolutely. Evelyn's just put up a good that would explain why some days there is more activity than other times.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nothing you can lock in.
Yeah. See, I personally believe with residual hauntings, which is the playback ones, I believe they need some kind of trigger. And this is only my personal belief. Because if there was no independent trigger, they would just literally constantly play over and over and over and over again. But a lot of these residual hauntings, they may only occur like once a week or sometimes even once a year on a specific date. So I think it's not only the actual area that's recorded the energy. I think the conditions when whatever was recorded after match. And then it will replay. It may be that it happened in the middle of a thunderstorm. So the thunderstorm energy played a part in what happened, sort of thing. So you may get an haunting that only occurs when there's lightning going on. And that's what it could be. There's got to be some kind of physical trigger that is present at the time to actually make that recording play. Because otherwise you just get a constant, you'd be seeing it 24/7, 365 days a year. There's got to be some kind of trigger.
That would be a good thing to go out and to test, Brett. Research a place, find out, say for instance, somebody died there. How did they die? Think about what a trigger might be, and then go in and perform the trigger, whatever it may be, and record what happened.
It may not just be one trigger; it could be a number of triggers.
It could be. It'd be worth exploring, though.
I think it replays when the exact conditions are at the same as when whatever was recorded actually happened. I think imagine like a key in a combination lock until all those tumblers are triggered, it won't open, sort of thing.
Kanga's just raised another interesting point in that context, is that would explain why. No, the wrong one. Where did you go, Kanga? Come back. That it's an echo in time, but exactly, it's an echo, a memory. You could call it a number of things, but the last piece of and it's now moved up so I apologise if I've butchered this, Kanga. Set me straight if I haven't, mate.
Although linear time is a human concept, so it could be an echo of what we term the future too. There you go.
Yeah. There's been no concrete evidence. This is my opinion. Take it for what you think it's worth. That whatever entities we're engaging with, whatever it may be, nothing future, everything is either now or in the past. It's not a future forward moving communication stream. Everything is either now or what they experienced as we perceive as the human experience. And even
See,
that
no,
could be described differently.
I don't agree with that, because there are numerous cases where people have actually described seeing something, and then from seconds to hours later, they've literally, it's happened, it's occurred. So I do believe that things from the future can bounce back. And to be honest with you, if you think about it, time travel could actually be a more plausible explanation for what a lot of people think are ghosts than actual dead people.
Well, there's always that possibility. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah. You know, because if sometime in the future we get technology that breaks the speed of light, we also break the bounds of time.
Bounds of time.
That is physical fact. If you travel faster than light, you dilate time. You literally control time.
But again, at this point in time, and Brett and I will disagree on this, and that's perfectly fine. That's an adult debating conversation that we're having here. Sam and Brett don't always agree. Julie and I don't always. We can come to sometimes a conclusion from a different perspective, and I always becoming more informed, and vice versa. But doesn't mean anything. Neither one of us can prove our point. It's just what we happen to believe in at this point in time. If someone can prove it different, I'm happy to change my mind and say I was wrong.
And that is the key point. That is the key point, Deb. None of us can prove what we're saying. All we can say is this is what I personally believe, and that's why I always start all my statements with this is just what I personally believe. And I know I say it a lot, but I do it to reinforce it to people that it is only my personal belief.
Yeah.
And all of us are always saying, do your own research. You know, this is what my step into that particular pond has informed me of, but you may find something down the road that I overlooked or didn't go deep enough or whatever.
That's that thing Seago was talking about earlier, the Wilson memo. I'd never heard of that. So, you know, I'm going to go and Google that later. I'm glad you reminded me too. About it.
I've heard of it a long, long time ago.
You know, see, no matter how much you know on a topic, there's always something new to learn. And that happens every day. That happens every day. Every single day.
Well, with a lot of
there's no experts in the paranormal.
No. Well, with a lot of help from my friends, I learned a great deal about setting up a YouTube account this morning.
We all learn something new every week. Trust me, I've learned a lot this week.
It's been a really broad-ranging discussion.
We've had a good stream.
We've had a great stream.
Yeah, we have. Well, if Sam wants to turn the box on, we can run the box for about a half hour before we go, and then we can.
Cool. And I'm going to run to the loo while she does that.
Okay. Wait, you let us.
If you can have a conversation for another 2 or 3 minutes, I could change my camera from me to the box. Hopefully without any hitches here.
Sure, whatever you want to do, honey. You do that.
I might be out of my league here, but I'm going to try. You know,
let's push the boundaries.
Can't hurt.
We'll put the camera focusing on the radio, which I know.
The world isn't going to end.
Nope.
Okay.
Whatever you're comfy with.
Yeah. Well, is everybody in the chat starting to? Oh, we can chat for hours.
Well, this, like Kanga Blue said before, she says, you know, we can't wrap our puny little human minds around the concept. And I said, well, that's half the problem, Kanga. We need to open our minds more. And she's like, I just wonder how much we're actually capable of. That's the big question. Yeah.
Far more than we give ourselves credit for.
Yes. Well, how much is it of our mind that we actually use? Brett
less than 10%.
Yeah.
Less than 10%.
Yep. And you look at how much knowledge we have already.
Yeah.
Just using that less than 10%. And if we opened our mind up to even 50%, that's would blow you away.
Absolutely. I mean, that's all we're trying to do is share knowledge, share what we've learned with others.
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to push the boundaries of the paranormal, not the entertainment stuff.
Yep.
With information that we've come across in our journeys, in our personal journeys.
Yep.
I've learned plenty from Brett and Sam in particular, and Julie over the course of a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I've changed my mind on a lot of things.
Yep.
And I'm not stuck in a position that I can't say with any conviction, anything that comes out of my mouth,
Mm-hmm.
that this is fact.
Yep.
The only thing that I have said concretely is that we are following an empirical method, and we are. And
Mm-hmm.
that's possible. Everything else is in my humble opinion. I mean, how many times, Julie, do we always say to people, do your own research? And here's another one. Jay Chuck has just asked if we've heard of the Frederick Valentich abduction. Have not.
No.
So, have you? I'm going to
have a look at that very briefly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have not personally, but thank you again. There's another piece of information that I can go and learn something from.
Valentic.
Sam froze.
No, she's setting up the box.
All right.
She's turning the camera from herself to the box.
An Australian pilot who disappeared while on
a
125 nautical mile training flight over the Bass Strait.
You'll need to keep your eye on the lobby, Julie, to let Sam back in.
She's not there yet.
Don't know what I did last night and not notice she was there.
Yeah. As Kanga just said, if we stripped away all the gender, race, crap hurdles that are put in our place, we'd be invincible. And then maybe we'd be worthy. But at the moment, we're not worthy to engage with another species. We just aren't.
Jay Chuck Vlogs. No, I've got to be honest, that's not one I've ever heard of, but I am going to write that down and look it up later.
We've all done the same thing. None of us have ever heard of it either. So thank you. And Julie's investigating now.
Valentic radioed Melbourne Air Traffic Control at 7:06 p.m. to report that an unidentified aircraft was following him at 4,500 feet. He was told there was no known traffic at that level. Valentic said he could see a large unknown aircraft which appeared to be illuminated by 4 bright landing lights. He was unable to confirm its type, but said it had passed about 1,000 feet overhead and was moving at high speed.
Yeah, I have heard of it.
Yeah, have you?
I don't recognise the name. Yeah, I don't recognise the name. Go on, carry on.
Okay. Valentic then reported that the aircraft was approaching him from the east and said the other pilot might be purposely toying with him. Valentic said the aircraft was orbiting above him and that it had a shiny metal surface and a green light on it. Valentic further reported that he was experiencing engine problems. Asked to identify the aircraft, Valentic radioed, it's not an aircraft. His transmission was then interrupted by unidentified noise described as metallic.
Yeah.
Ooh. I've just looked it up, so I'm going to watch that after the stream. So thank you for that, CJ Vlogs, I believe it was.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jay. I didn't recognise the name, but as soon as Julie started reading out the words, I did remember it. Yeah. I didn't realise it was Australia. I thought it was American.
Yeah.
No, I never heard of it. So there you go. Young graph pilot flying the finger of Holland or something. Don't know about that either, Kanga.
You're looking rather square today, Sam.
Oh no, Sam's been abducted and they've left a radio communication device.
I was just going to say, she's flashing us.
I'm trapped in here.
Are you in there, Sam? Are you okay?
Are you alright? Sam, honey, are they green?
I'm stuck in the radio.
Where did they put the probe?
Never you mind.
Yeah,
I
the other
can't
week.
get up.
If they get the Vaseline out, start running.
Oh,
Oh,
he had-
damn.
it was only a matter of time.
Don't touch me there.
This is my no swear.
That's my G spot. Alone.
Oh,
Yeah, this isn't the actual Spurt box. It's the radio on Bluetooth too. You know, but the sound out of this little radio is actually pretty good. So it is running now. So if you want me to turn it up and you can ask your questions.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks, Sam. I feel sorry for you in that box, darling. I really do.
Can you tell me what the volume is like?
Good.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Challenge?
That's what it sounded like.
Listen.
Indeed.
Could you tell me how many is coming through to talk to us this morning? I've got my friends here.
I thought I had a last chance.
Sam, can you knock it down a fraction? It sounds like it's distorting a bit.
Yeah. What's that like?
That's better. It ain't got that bit of rough distortion to it now. Well, the chloroform's coming out.
Yeah, the mother voice is coming out now.
You'll see her grab the bottle and the cloth in a minute.
What?
That's Charles' voice. Cole? Did that say Cole again?
I think so.
I was trying not to go there. I thought because I didn't think I heard it clear enough. But I thought yes, it was said Cole.
That sounded like Julie. I think we just got another Cole.
Can you say the
What is
name
it?
of
What is Cole's? What is Cole's wife's name? No, it's not Elaine. Edgar, type whatever you hear.
Touch it.
Touch it.
That's what I heard too.
We're touching Sam.
It's another.
Haunted again. Can you say hello to Julie, Deb, and Brett, who's on the screen in front of me?
Did I say we can?
We do. We do.
Yeah. Will you talk to them?
Yeah.
I know you want. I know you talk to me, but can you talk to them?
Oh, it is today.
Let's say 4.
4.
Yep.
That came up last night.
Did you hear Zara?
Yeah, Fairy did. And I agree with Kanga. I thought I heard Lula or Hula or something like that.
Did you listen back last night, Sam, and listen to Beefy?
No, I didn't get around to listening back to it yet, but I will today.
That's a child. That's a girl. That sounds like a young
Yeah.
girl.
But I heard that outside the box and then in the box.
So that's why I sat up. I thought,
Yeah.
did I hear that outside of the box?
Yeah.
There's two. If you're hearing an echo, I can turn this.
No, it ain't an echo.
No.
There's no echo.
No, it wasn't an echo.
It's coming out of 2 speakers, and it's delayed because it's actually Bluetoothed.
No. Sydney. It's working fine, Sam.
Yeah. Tammy did too.
Excuse me.
Why?
Wonder if they can tell us about coal.
Okay, shut up.
Producer.
That sounded like Medusa.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's because the signal's actually been sent from the UK over to Australia, Jackie. That's why.
I have a 1 second delay between the box and the radio. Maybe that helps, I don't know.
I wonder if we'll get Satan again doing his goat noises.
Are you there? That sounded like Sam.
Yeah, it did. And
Yeah.
while you were away, there was a voice came through that sounded like you.
Really?
Yeah.
Sound
Yeah,
bloody Australian.
They call out my name a lot, you know, because I'm used to doing this. I do this every day, you know.
Yeah. Can you tell me what Cole's son's name is, please?
Olive.
Say Olive.
See, again.
Olive, yeah.
Three.
Oh, it is an echo.
Orange.
We were talking about an olive the other day.
Yeah, we were.
Recent.
Listen.
Recent.
Recent. Oh, okay.
Recent.
Can you tell me what is written on the back of my chair or what animal is on top of my small wooden box that I'm currently holding here? Let's see if either of those two words come out at any point.
You.
Sound like you. We're doing well. There's no sign of it at the moment.
Yeah, I was just thinking there. Maybe Ed or Philip would like to come in and help with the communication here.
Dogs.
Or Dave.
Did
I say dog?
Huh?
Yeah, the one before that one was dog, I thought.
Yeah. I heard my name and then after that I heard dog. You called me a dog.
Dog.
Shape up.
Did I say puppy?
Puppy. Yeah, that's what I just said. Puppy. Dog, puppy. Where's the dog?
Hello. Okay. Said. Again. Hello.
Hello.
Sam's here.
I would have said Sam.
Yeah.
Something.
Sound like is Sam here or something?
Could be.
The idea.
Can you give us the name of Sam's dog again, like you did last night?
Oh yeah, that was cool.
That just shout no at me.
Yeah. It was immediate.
Because they know.
Yeah. Hello.
Is the teacher here?
Did that say yes?
Sound like it?
It said something really strange in a really strange voice compared to everything else.
I'll be back in a second, folks.
Something about a performing monkey. What are you listening to, Kanga?
I'll be back in a second, folks. Right?
Okay. Teacher. What do we want to ask the teacher? Can the teacher tell us where they come from?
He said, I'm not a performing monkey, Brett.
He.
Ooh. Robotic.
Yeah, robotic.
Very robotic.
Fart. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like it said fart.
Please mute yourself if you feel the need.
This part.
Despite. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a weird thing to hear.
It is. That's why I sort of raised my eyebrows a little more.
Yeah, he's displaced there with his fart.
Scoop.
Speak.
By the monkey.
Speak.
No.
What would you like us to ask you?
Let's say ghost.
I thought
I
so.
thought it did
Ghost.
too.
Like Sam's voice, ghost.
What do you want to ask us? And it went ghost.
Are we? Is it
Yeah.
asking if they're ghosts?
Are we? Yeah. No, we're not.
Are you ghosts? Are you dead people? Okay.
Did that say yes?
Say yes.
Yeah. Did that say
Mummy.
yes?
Oh
I'm
wow.
not your mummy. Honestly.
Such.
Touch it. I'm not touching it.
Definitely touch it.
Yeah.
That's twice touch it's come through now, and that was Sam joking about it earlier in the beginning.
Oh,
Yeah, mate. We're not touching anything.
all right.
What do you want us to touch?
In the beginning, Sam said,
Yeah, that's what
"Don't touch
Sam
me
was
there."
joking. That's what I said. Sam was joking about it, and twice now it said touch it.
Oh,
That camera's very 1980s, isn't it? The yellow.
Isn't it? It
Yeah.
is. I'd say the 50s, 60s probably.
I'll stick a Photoshop filter on it for you.
Ancient.
Did I say ancient?
That's what I thought.
Ancient.
That's what I said. I mean, yeah.
Yes.
We are.
Yes.
We are. Oh, we asked that last night and got a definitive no.
Which is
what can we add to that?
Witches.
Witches.
Oh, I thought it
I said
said
witches.
witches.
soft.
Stop. Do you think we're witches? Cheeky wonk. Do you think we are witches communicating with you?
Ring. To live.
Mine.
Mine. Did
Mine.
I say Julie?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So did it just say they're Mayan?
Yeah, I thought it said there's something.
Yeah, after that.
And then we got yes.
Okay.
You're able to hear better than me because I'm actually just mostly listening to you. I can't hear two different things at one time, so that's why you're better ears than me at the moment.
Do you know what a Desmond is?
If we get a goat bleating now, I'm going to pee myself laughing.
Oh, yes.
Do you hear the ice cream van?
I was just going to say, yeah.
Did that say
music?
it?
I'm going, Julie.
Can you repeat that?
Desmond? It sounded like Desmond.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Italy. Or is it
What did
going?
it say? Where's it
It sounded
going?
like keep going.
Oh. Yeah, can you growl for us? Oh my God.
Oh, God.
That's disturbing.
That
is disturbing.
I'll put it away. Flipping out.
Victim.
Victim. Yes, they were victims.
So are we. But see, it's threatening.
Did that say do it? It sounded like do it.
Didn't it? That's why I was really laughing.
Do you want to laugh? Do you want to laugh at Brett?
Why not? We do.
Exactly. That sounded like Julie again.
I wasn't sure. Two or Julie. I'm not
Someone
sure.
want to talk to me?
But don't you think it's interesting we're getting no snatches of music coming through?
Yeah.
Yeah. The theory is that the radio actually isn't scanning, where it's gone beyond the scan and it's gone into some sort of overclocking mode sort of thing. Yeah.
That sounded like I said Jesus then.
Yeah.
You know when Sam goes, Jesus.
Yeah.
Because you don't hear the scan. You normally hear the click, 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 click. You're not hearing that.
Do you like talking with us?
That was directed me, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like talking. I like a lot. I like talking with you too.
Long time.
I don't know.
Don't say thanks.
You did. That's why I'm laughing.
Cool.
Focus.
So you're an ancient being. Can you tell us what kind of ancient being?
It's a baby being.
That no.
Indian. Let's say Indian.
Oh.
That sounded like Indian.
India or India? Yeah. I'm not sure.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, it's
Delhi.
an ice cream truck outside Delhi. It's an ice cream truck outside my house.
Delhi? Delhi's in India.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It said India and then Delhi. I confirmed it.
It's not. Ancient again.
Ancient again.
What can we call you?
Did that say Diet?
I thought it said Ed. I was going to be like, what?
Oh, Ed will show up. Trust me.
Ed said last night he wasn't ancient. Or was it last week? I don't know.
Last night.
Yeah. Last night. Could you repeat your name for us, please?
Zed is actually my landlord.
That was a name.
That sounded like ancestor. Is what it sounded
That's
like.
what I thought.
Who's ancestor?
Sultan. Hello, my boy.
Impart what? Wisdom?
That is correct.
I do like to be smart.
Sam, you're doing a great job in that box, mate. I'm telling you.
You're doing really good.
You're just smacking it out of the ballpark. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, God. It did. Yes, she is. She's very good.
I don't take any of the tanks. I give the tanks to the box builder and the communicators.
Are you an ancient communicator?
Dream.
I don't know.
You dream.
I said dream.
Thought it did.
Do you communicate through dreams? That said yes.
Far. Or fart again. One or the other.
Fart.
In touch.
In touch something. Visual.
That sounded like Cajun.
Maybe the location food.
It's spicy. So I asked, do you communicate through dreams? And it said visual.
Oh, so showing themselves in dreams.
Is that correct? You communicate through dreams?
They can smell our tacos cooking. We could just eat tacos now.
I do love a good curry.
Butter
I
chicken.
got a sweet and sour chicken for later.
Can you tell me what I have in my hand?
Please say fingers.
I could just eat a taco.
I could get, I've got chili con carne and penne noodles for this.
Julie?
Julie. Me too, Seago.
And me.
You're going to take one look at the size of me.
I have to be the odd one out. I don't like tacos.
Ooh, well, I like
Weirdo.
You can also have the taco contents and put it in an iceberg lettuce leaf in the summer. That's beautiful. You don't have to actually have the taco itself.
You can wet your lettuce with chili con carne.
Yes, I'm sure I can do that, Brett.
I could just about manage a pot noodle.
Here we go with me.
Bloody rats.
Why are we getting 4 a lot? We got 4 last night and we're getting 4 again today.
Yeah, that's the third time it said
so
that.
What's with the number 4 then?
There's 4 of us, but does it mean anything else? That sounded like F it.
Did they say funky?
I don't know. Maybe.
It definitely sounded like it to me. There was the F word at the front of it.
There was an F in there somewhere.
When you mention 4, what are you what is that in regard to?
Or again.
Jungle.
Joe?
Jungle.
Joe. Joe something. Mm-hmm.
Don't you have pot noodles in Australia?
We have cup of noodle.
They're basically just a little plastic cup and you tip water in them and they've just got noodles and a bit of powder in them.
Cup of noodle.
Yeah, they're called pot noodles over here.
Listen. Listening. Ancient.
Bullshit.
Again.
Ain't again.
I thought it said
Oh.
bullshit.
Oh, I thought it said ancient.
No, I thought it said ancient too.
Ancient. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look into that. It's got to mean something.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google that too.
Are you trying to say ancient 4?
Oh.
Or again?
Ooh, 4 again.
Ancient 4. Look that up.
I can tell you what that is. It's the elements.
Oh, and it said ghost earlier, which is like
Where?
the point of the star. And it said witches, pagan.
Yeah, it said witches.
So,
I want
South.
south. Air. Is south there?
No.
No.
No,
Can you tell me what the element represents the southern cardinal point? Yes, we know there's 4. Can you tell me what the south element is, please?
keep saying air. Maybe it's the element of air.
Who is the watchtower of the south?
cloth.
No, it's not cloth.
The spray.
Air's east.
Hmm.
Can you tell me what the southern element is? What element guards the watchtower of the south? Yes, I know there's 4. What's with the 4? It's saying 4 over and over again. 4 again. 4 again. Chosen.
Hmm.
Four. Olive. What's the obsession with Olive? Is there someone here called Olive, or have you got a message for Olive?
Yes, my boy. Are you the ancient? My puss.
Do you see the cat? Can you see the cat?
Yeah,
on my
he's
screen?
annoyed that I'm not paying him attention, so he's jumped up.
Brett, what element are you in regard to your birthday?
Earth.
You're an Earth as well. Okay. Well, that
I'm
shoots
actually
that
an Earth.
theory.
I'm actually an Earth air cusp, which in paganism is considered the most powerful because it's as above, so below. Earth
Okay.
and air.
Deb, what are you?
Fire sign.
Sam?
I was born on 27th of April.
Taurus.
Oh, so you're an
my
Earth.
sign?
Earth. She's Earth.
So
Oh,
three of
hang
us are
on.
Earth.
She'd be on the cusp, Benny, but
Cup of Aries and Taurus.
cusp.
I thought it said cat.
Just shredding
Hang on.
here everywhere.
She's fire. Oh, you're
So
fire
what?
too, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a double fire.
It doesn't matter. It wipes my theory. I thought we were full signs of the element, but we're not. That was weird, though.
Yeah.
You're an Earth sign, aren't you, Julie?
Yeah, I'm an Earth.
And I'm an Earth, so that blew it out the water straight away.
But if you were on the cusp, they could have considered you an air. Yeah.
I am technically an earth, but I'm on the cusp almost into air.
Yeah.
And the southern element is fire, by the way.
Yeah.
We're the element of the north, earth.
Yep.
That sounded like it said north then.
North. What element is north?
It is saying 4 very frequently, so you go. It's obsessed with the number 4.
It is.
Now, can you remember, Sam, when we did this on my stream the first time, and we were doing the cards, and it got obsessed over the number 4.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm about to devour 4 tacos.
It just says
my name
Taurus or
again?
toilet.
Who's a Taurus?
May the 28th. I don't know what sign May is.
May
Aries.
the end of May is I believe it's a Gemini. Beginning of May is Taurus.
And Gemini, an air sign. Alexa, what element is Gemini?
I think they are.
Gemini's zodiac element is air.
Air, thought it was. Now there ain't an animal on my chair, kangaroo. It's on my box.
On your box?
On my little wooden box, yeah. It's tattooed on top of my box. There's I have got a tramp stamp actually. It says alpha male Domino Canubialis.
What does that mean?
I'll send you the spelling and you look it up.
Canubi.
It's Latin for sexually dominant.
Oh, okay. Is that some domineering thing?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Fucking hell.
Stop getting excited because nobody can see you, Sam. What colour's Sam's box spirit?
White letters.
Iceberg, white lettuce. Fun? Yes, fun. I'd love either the word on the back of my chair or the animal on that box to come through.
Get out. Brett has a little wooden box on his desk. Can you let us know what animal is sitting on top of that box? That was a dog again, wasn't it?
No, it's not a dog. It's not a wolf. I swear to God that keeps saying bullshit.
I think Deb heard that too.
On the road heard it as well.
Radio.
What'd you say, sir?
Did that say go on?
What time are you going to go, Brett?
You are?
What time do you have to go? Soon, isn't it?
Yeah, about 10 minutes.
Okay. We can wind it up if you guys want. Yeah?
Believe it or not, we've actually 11, 12. We've been going 3.5 hours.
I just looked at that.
It's flew by.
3 hours, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We're going to finish now. We're going to turn the radio off. Is there anything else you want to say to us before we go?
Anything except for
the radio's gone flat.
yeah, it's gone dead. Totally dead.
Yeah.
Oh, is that why it's not? Oh.
Yeah, just when we decide to stop.
Hello, Julie's cockatiel.
Yeah, they're quiet.
Can we talk to you tomorrow?
Thank you for talking.
Yes, thank you for communicating with us.
Thank you. Blessed be.
The transmitter went. That's what went wrong. Right, I can see.
How weird, right at the very end.
Yeah, as soon as we said we were going, they cut it off.
Yeah, I heard somebody laugh.
On the radio?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the transmitter has gone out.
Oh. Perfect timing, Mo.
Yeah, right on time.
Yeah. All right. We want to say a huge thank you to everybody that came in this afternoon and joined us for another very interesting stream. Thank you to Brett, Deb, and Sam for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Make sure that you go over and if you can connect to each of their channels. As you guys know, Brett's having his psychic streams coming up. Deb has her new channel, and Sam also has 2 different channels, which we're going to be doing some streams on as well. So all links will be found in the description below after the stream. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video, guys.
Have a great night,
Bye,
everybody.
bye folks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Blessed be.